We are gooning. Can you hear me? I should be coming through fine, right? Right? Let me just get YouTube chat in, and then I'm just gonna hop right into the channel. Cool. YouTube chat should be up. Let's hop into the channel before Wick kills me. Oh my god, where's Wick's channel? Where's Wick's channel? Where's Wick's channel? Aha, here it is. Backstage. Mike sucks. Wait. Hello, hello. Oh.
Three, we'll find out.
Hello.
Ice Beans, what's up, brother? Or sister?
Howdy, howdy.
Or whatever. Sorry.
Starting the misogyny already, huh? I see how
True.
it is.
Well, no, it's a compliment, right? You're not one of them stupid women's. Right?
Okay, hold on. I'm just gonna get y'all up on my screen. Oh,
We're not live quite yet, by the way, on my end, but that's okay.
That's fine. I figured you wouldn't go live just yet.
Yeah, I'm. Mooncake had to cancel on us, unfortunately, and so I've been. No, it's okay. I gotta fill in, but she's gonna be a little late, and I might have to help her a little bit with Discord, but we're gonna get her in.
Okay.
We're gonna start on time.
Hey, nice to meet you.
You'll be perfect for the panel.
Nice
I
to
promise.
meet you too. That's totally fine. Okay, hold on.
Lost Lore Scholar Jack was here, but he left to do something.
Oh.
There we go.
Let me DM him. Okay, and other than that...
Let's see, I got that, got chat box. Probably should not. Other box, cool. All right, we good.
I'm also reading that
Yes.
Sorry, you know the Colorado attacker guy? They're deporting his kids.
What?
And like,
are they deporting his kids with him?
I don't know.
That's one of those things where like
it's wife and kids, so it might be they're just getting his whole family out.
Jesus.
Look, lock him up. Obviously, he's horrendous, horrific. Put him in jail forever. I don't care, right? But his kids didn't do shit.
Well,
why are you fucking with
his kids undocumented or anything? Like, were there documentation status?
I don't know.
It's the thing where you know
they're doing it for punishment of what his they're doing it for punishment for what he did, right? Anyway, different topic. Different topic, not related to tonight's show. So we'll put that to bed for now. Jack, you got a camera for us that works?
So close. OBS just crashed, for Christ's sake.
It's okay.
I figured out the problem. I had the wrong camera plugged in.
Well, that would be it.
Right.
Okay, we'll give you a minute and then we'll start. And
come on.
We'll do what we have to do.
Don't do this to me, OBS.
Ah, it's working. Hey. It's working. We can see it.
I'm a golden god.
Wonderful.
Hello.
Nice.
Okay. You guys, it's been a while for a couple of you, so I'll just give you the spiel. I will go live. I will say hi to my audience. I will introduce a topic, and then I'll give each of you, and I stress this, brief introductions and opening statements and all that. Ice Beans, you're going to go last because you requested it. And Soy Pill, I'll let you start us off. And with that, any questions before we go live?
Can you wait 10 seconds?
I can.
Well, do you spell Tiddy with 2 T's or 2 D's?
I spelled, either way works. I spelled it with, it's properly spelled with T's, but I did it with D's to be funny. because double
Okay.
D's. Anyway,
All right, I'm ready.
look, it's the thing. Okay, let's start the show. Okay. Welcome, one and all, to yet another episode of Wick TV. It's a cross-ideological space where we come together to talk about issues both political and cultural and silly to the serious, and there's nothing more serious than today's topic, titties, okay? We're going to be talking about titties and ass and TNA in general when it comes to gaming, media, streaming, all sorts of things. Recently, with the release of Stellar Blade onto PC, within 72 hours of its release, it had countless mods made. Raunchy is the word used to describe them, and probably the best word used on this stream. And people beforehand, when Stellar Blade was quote unquote censored, and they covered up some of her cleavage and things like that, the main game character, people had a fit. They threw a fit. They refunded their purchases. They threatened to cancel. All these things. So the question for tonight is simple. Are Gooners ruining gaming? Or are they saving it? Are the big old titties saving gaming culture? Or are they ruining it? We're going to talk about it. We got some great guests. We got one more coming, maybe two more. We'll see if they show up. I'm going to pass the ball first to Mr. Soy Pill himself. Thanks for being here. Really appreciate you. Tell people who you are, what you do, and what are your thoughts.
Yeah, I'm the Soy Pill. I make video essays. I just posted one for members and patrons only. So all my members in my audience better not go watch that because this is more important. Because we got to talk about Gooners, guys. Look, I'm not here to shame hot women. I'm not here to shame jerking off. I personally love jerking off to hot women. It's fun. That's fine. My problem is with Gooners. Their stupid fucking over-sexualization that ruins artistic integrity in video games. When games put half-naked booby ladies in places where they don't belong, clearly to appeal to a horny male audience, it's embarrassing and crosses into pornographic territory. Some examples: Stellar Blade, like Wick already mentioned, Quiet from Metal Gear Solid, Sarah Kerrigan from StarCraft. These are all examples of very obviously over-sexualized, completely out-of-place things that have to be post hoc rationalized as, she has to be naked because she breathes through her skin. It's so stupid. Sex is a natural part of human life, and I don't think we need sterile, unsexy, frumpy characters. Baldur's Gate 3 is a great game that sacrifices no artistic integrity when placing in nudity, hot people, or sex scenes. But the best armor isn't a floss string bikini that gives you plus 8,000 defense. Everything fits in the world. So Gooners, much like the worst of the woke, sacrifice story, character, and suspension of disbelief for their agenda. It sucks, and I'm tired of it. Go watch porn and stay out of my video games, you little fucking freaks.
Okay, well, we're starting. Speaking of little fucking freaks, Jack, welcome to the show.
Jeez,
Welcome
man, we
back.
haven't seen each other in weeks.
True.
And you come out. Right, well,
True.
I like
What you
how
got for us, sir?
I've been trying to flip my camera so that my logo is correct, but you flipped your stream, so it's actually all right. It's very strange. Look, I don't know what Soy Pill's problem is, other than the fact that he's obviously on too much soy. He is right. Sex is a completely natural part of human life, and to the point where the bravest men and women in the world, the Celts, fought butt naked, covered in paint, and screaming like wild things. Some of the most incredible female characters to have ever come out of media in the last 20th century. I can name two off the top of my head that fight near naked. Red Sonja and Ripley from Alien. And there is nothing wrong with having a little bit of eye candy whilst you are watching them kick ass. Now, I do agree that there are certain portions of the internet that get a little bit too into the modding scene. I'm looking at you, Nexus, and the other place where you should never go, Simba. And I agree that, yes, people do get their horn on for video game characters. However, sex, sexuality, and the use of sex and sexuality can be used to achieve different ends. And Stellar Blade has obviously used it to achieve an aesthetic, which, to be honest, is quite incredible. The music is great. The models are great. The sexiness is top tier. I am waiting to play it because my to play list is as long as my arm, and I've got books I need to read first. But I think it's incredible that we've sort of we're back in 2014, and I'm getting deja vu.
Okay. Thank you for being here. I really appreciate you. Welcome back to the show, and we'll get into it, I'm sure, as we go. Next up, last but not least, for now at least, until our other guests arrive, my favorite, Ice Beans. Go ahead.
Long time no see, Wick. All right, my position is a fairly simple one. I am a free market and free titty. I support that. I don't think that my positions of wanting good games with good stories and good mechanics means that I have to tell gooners not to goon. If they would like to goon, that is totally up to them. Video game developers are totally free to cater to gooners if they like, and I will simply, if you are somebody who doesn't like the goon content, you can simply put your money where your mouth is and support those video game devs that don't participate in that. I prefer to leave it up to, I prefer to give developers the freedom to do as they wish and burn spectacularly or become spectacularly successful. I'm totally fine with either way. I do not see the need to put a cap on video game devs or modders. Barring some, I'll make some concessions for some legal things, obviously, but for the most part, I am free the nip in this case.
Free the nip. Okay, well, Soy Pill, what do you have to say to that? Are you anti-freedom, Soy Pill? Why are you against?
Yeah, no, okay. So the idea, first of all, I don't think we should legislate against gooner mentality, obviously, but the idea that this free market is somehow a good argument against it has always pissed me off, because if you look at the most popular movies or any sort of like media, you can appeal to the lowest common denominator and make absolute fucking dog shit. You can look at all the Marvel slop that has been churned out in the past 5 years. You can look at like all the gambling that just takes advantage of people's addictive personalities and say, well, hey, it's the free market, and yeah, people are more drawn to this makes more money. And it's true, it does make more money, but that doesn't mean it's good. And what my problem is not the idea that someone can be horny in a video game. That's why I brought up Baldur's Gate 3. It's one of the horniest games I've ever played. There are people constantly trying to fuck you, even when you don't try to fuck them. It is very much like a sex positive nudity game. And you can, I mean, the opening screen lets you like choose genitalia, how big and small you want the dicks to be, whether or not you want them to be circumcised. You can do all the booby customization, all that, although I don't think there's a booby slider, unfortunately. But what really sucks is when they use these gooner mentalities to sacrifice what would otherwise be a good story. So if you want to talk to me about, hey, we shouldn't desexualize games, or hey, we should let people pick what they want, of course. But however, I think that we should be advocating for better media. Just because it's allowed, just because it's the free market, doesn't mean it's good, right? Quiet is a dog shit character. I'm sorry. There's no reason for someone to be dressed like that in the game. The only reason is because it's hot, and it doesn't make any sense in universe. She's gonna get fucking fried by the sun out in Metal Gear Solid. So it pisses me off when you sacrifice good story so that you can get horny and jerk off. That's my problem. If you want to contend with that, cool. But if you want to say we should be allowed to have gooners in the games, yeah, sure. I just think they suck.
Well, I mean, here's the thing: is that I don't necessarily have a problem with that. I think the bigger question is that, because here's the other thing. I mean, and this I guess does speak to the question, because I can agree with you on in the sense that I would prefer to have games that have a balanced sense of like, putting sexuality where it's needed, where as opposed to just kind of slapping it on there to appeal to a certain demographic or whatever else. Like, I have no problem with that whatsoever. I haven't played Baldur's Gate myself, but like have heard and watched quite a bit of it, so I do understand and take your points. But my preference is to just, instead of focusing on telling the gooners to stop, I'm more interested in supporting, supporting the games that do have the good content, so to speak. Like you mentioned, for example, you mentioned like the woke stuff in like in shows or whatever, and like you can talk about DEI and stuff. I like it when it's done well and it doesn't like clash with certain other things in the story whatsoever. I have no problem with diversity, for example, but it has to be done well, right? And so, of course, if you have like you have the general environment being more conducive to race swapping and all those kinds of things, but I like to see it as the things that rise to the top are those movies, are those shows that do it well and incorporate it without it being too ham-fisted. And I just think the same is true of like the Gooner content. I guess what do you
Let
have
me
to
be
say
clear,
to that?
just because maybe you don't know my politics. So when I said woke, that wasn't a criticism of
No,
the
that's fine.
concept woke in the same way the right wing people do it. It's when
Sure.
you notice bad media and call it woke when these people do it, because it's not because it's woke. It's not because there's a brown character. It's not because they put a girl in it. It's because it has bad writing. And the writing has been, supplanted by also someone's woke agenda. So I'm fine with woke games. I'm fine with diversity, like you said. Baldur's Gate 3 is another example of, hey, this game's really woke. It's got gay people in it. It's got all sorts of, you can have a man voice and a female genitalia. It's like whatever. But the problem is that, yeah, you notice woke stuff when it's bad writing, and then they just blame it on woke. In the same way, I'm not going to blame Gooners for making the game bad, but there is some degree of what's up, Wick?
Why not? Let's look at Stellar Blade as an example, and this is to your point too, Ice Beans, right? You said you want to give developers the most latitude that they possibly can have. Stellar Blade's a perfect example of this. The Gooners, because the developers wanted to censor it a little bit, right? They're like, this is a little too much, right?
Well,
And
the
they
publisher wanted to censor it, which I think is the when we're talking about this controversy, and I followed it a little bit. It's not really my kind of thing. I'm more interested in the principles behind the entirety of the conversation. The publisher was the one that tried to impose censorship upon the artistic expression of the developer. Now, you might not like the artistic expression being as sexy as it is. That's entirely personal preference. The issue that people like Grums and Asmongold and that sort of streamer crowd had was that it was the developer attempting to censor a final product when the demand for the product was for the original uncensored offering. And so the controversy was that it wasn't that the developers wanted to make her less hot, because good God, look at the amount of time they spent scalping her ass. It is because the publisher said this is going to offend certain people, maybe people with too much soy in their diet, and there you are.
I'm not offended by how sexy they are. I think it's embarrassing, frankly, because when I play a game like Stellar Blade, first of all, incredibly, incredibly derivative of something like Nier Automata. The
Yes,
gameplay
that's the
itself is
idea.
very repetitive and not, in my opinion, not very good, although it's not my type of game, so I can't comment that well on it. But the problem is when you have a cast of characters that all are these like hyper pornified, samey looking people, because it doesn't really matter that it makes sense in the game. It just matters that every character has to be hot. Every character always has to be appealing to male sexuality. I'm not offended by it. It just kind of sucks. It's worse because you could have a vast variety of characters. Sorry?
We're not allowed to appeal to male sexuality?
I didn't say you're not allowed to. I just think it's lazy and not as good as when you have a variety of characters.
You framed it as a criticism.
This is a criticism, but when you're saying you're not allowed to, that's very different. I'm not prescribing that we can't do this.
You said
I'm saying this sucks.
It appeals to male sexuality as if that was an issue. But if there is something
it's appealing to male sexuality in a way that sacrifices the integrity of the realism of the world and the suspension of disbelief.
Well,
for example,
let me take that point.
The outfits that they wear in Stellar Blade are ridiculous.
I'm not a fan of this particular argument, but I'm going to make it because I find it ironic that I would. You're saying Quiet is a terrible character because it breaks your suspension of disbelief because she's in the midday sun and she's next to naked. If I'm not mistaken, don't they set a giant flying whale on fire in the first few minutes of that game? Is that the same game? Is that the same universe?
Yeah. But
so
the idea that
you've not actually played it.
I haven't played that part of it. I've only played through the middle when you're going
That's
to
the
and from the
beginning
ship.
part of it.
I didn't play it.
You're escaping from the hospital. I've not played it. I've watched someone else play it.
I play on other people's PlayStations, unfortunately.
My point is that there is if you've not played it using it.
Wait, neither of you have played the game. Let's be clear.
But
neither of you have played the game.
No, I've never played the game.
It's not my example. It's his example. But I'm saying is,
I just want to set the stage here. Is that you're both talking about something neither of you have played?
No, this is the example.
I have played it. I haven't played all the way through.
Yeah, and I have watched it. I have watched a Let's Play of it because I was working. But the idea that you can take the giant flaming whale on the nose, but can't take a sexy lady showing a bit of skin, I think
So
might
this
be
is a little bit of a misrepresentation too, and maybe you don't know this, but it's not just, oh, she's sexy. It's one
She
that
proves
she's
through her skin.
she's literally naked, and they have to write a reason for her to be naked back
Yeah.
into the game. But it's two, it's when you're in the helicopter, she's like showing her ass into your face like
Yeah.
a cat trying to get fucked. Like it's very embarrassingly like trying to appeal to this like like, oh, look how hot I am, and like the idea that she's literally this like perfect encapsulation of male sexual desire. She's, perfectly sculpted. She doesn't talk. She's super servile to you. And it's like, this is fucking weird. It's dumb. And it's like,
That is
yeah, no,
normal
don't get me
human
wrong. There's
sexuality.
I understand that, but when you're in the game, and I'm like, this is the same problem that people have with wokeness. It's not necessarily the wokeness; it's that the game is making you think about something completely irrelevant to the story and the world that you're in, because you're like, this is so fucking dumb. So if like I'm playing a fantasy game, and it has some sort of like, I don't know, non-binary character or some non-binary race, like maybe there's automatons, or maybe there's some Star Trek, group of aliens that are agendered.
Like
That's
the
usually
Asari from Mass Effect.
yeah, like the Asari in Mass Effect, which, to be fair, are just all hot women. But that is still an asexual thing, right? So that's fine, and that doesn't take you out of the game. But then when they say, "Whoa, excuse me, Commander Shepard, you just misgendered me," suddenly you're like, "Wait a minute, why am I hearing 2025 language in my game that's set like in the year 4000 or wherever the fuck Mass Effect takes place, or 2200 or whatever?" And it's like, this is what I mean when it's like, okay, there's nothing that's going to take me out of, even like a goofy flaming whale might like fit in the universe of Goofy Metal Gear Solid, where I'm hiding in a box and have a flaming fist that goes around and remote controls. But the problem is that like this very obviously pornographic, like, hey, look how hot I am, and not like a flirty person that you can romance, and that it's like they don't even need to have a character. Maybe they're just hot and they're trying to fuck you. Maybe they're literally a prostitute in game. But when the character's entire like existence is meant to goon to, that's when it's like, okay, why does it look like this? And you can tell that it's, well, I wanted to put a really fucking hot character in, and then I had to pretend like there was a good reason to do it. And that's when it's really
what
but then
you
it seems like you're
writing.
it seems like
Japanese writing.
hold on,
yeah,
would you have
Japanese
would you have
writing
let a
is usually bad, and I hate anime. Just
Okay, let's give it to Ice Beans for a minute.
yeah,
Go ahead,
would you
please.
have a problem? Would you have less of a problem with it if they didn't try to provide the bullshit explanation for the fan service content?
That's just like the insulting cherry on top, where you pretend like there's a good reason to do it. And like if they, I would at least admire their honesty if they're like, I like hot women so much that I'm willing to sacrifice the integrity of my game, and how like, everything makes sense. I'm just going to say there's a naked woman always at all times in the corner of my screen, picture in pictured, so that I can always goon to it. It would be like, yeah, this is still stupid. However, at least you're being honest that you're just a horny motherfucker. I think the line is crossed when it's like, this might as well be porn. Why don't you just go watch porn? Why are you putting it in this video game?
Because he wanted to, and he's an artist.
I'm aware that's his intention.
I think, okay, to put the question of Stellar Blade to the side for a second, because I like, for me, Stellar Blade isn't necessarily, I mean, I do realize that there's some issues between like, the publisher and the devs. That kind of makes sense to me, right? But the modding question is not so much of, that people made mods isn't so strange to me. People have been making mods since games have kind of existed that can accept a mod, and lewd or nude ones at that. So, the gooning, depending on what your definition of gooning is, it could go back as far as like some pretty old fucking games. But as far as like the actual goon content in a game, I still don't see how, like, if you simply don't like that content, and you think that it could be done better, I guess, is that the only thing that's turning you off from playing this game? Like, is that the only reason why you would otherwise happily play this game, except it's the big titty or big ass women?
This doesn't even stop me from playing the game. My idea is to shame this kind of content out of games, not legislate it, obviously, but just to say, like, this is embarrassing. Like, this shouldn't be in games, and it's frankly just stupid. And like an example I might bring up is I forgot which God of War this is, but there's a God of War game where like one of the rewards for beating a boss is like you go and you do like a sex mini game with like Aphrodite. And it was very much in the era where this was much more prevalent of, hey, like, this has absolutely nothing to do with the gameplay. You're literally just mashing buttons. But here's this naked woman moaning every time you press X. This is just to
Yes, I
appeal
think
to
I've seen
like
that
the
scene.
I
male
can
like
actually
fan.
speak to this because God
Yeah.
of War. I remember we had Jaffe on,
We did have him on. Yes, I remember.
the developer of God of War.
Yes.
And he was an interesting fellow. We didn't get on. The but I'm going to defend him here because you're saying, oh, there's no reason for Aphrodite, the goddess of beauty, love, and sex, to have a sexy mini game.
Well, hold on. Don't misrepresent me. I didn't say you can't shoehorn it in by saying, well, she's the goddess of sex. I'm saying the fact that it's in there is not because it's like, I really respect Greek mythology as the developer of this game, where this random character I created go through and kill every fucking god. It's more about the fact that it's like, why is this in here? Oh, because wouldn't it be hot if we had a naked person to appeal to our male teenage audience? And that's why they put it in. And I just think it's kind of lame.
Can I make a positive case for the inclusion of sex and sexuality in products like this, just to sort of reframe a little bit before we continue?
Sure, but just to be clear, again, I'm not anti-sex in games.
It sounds like it.
I literally, my opening example was Baldur's Gate 3, which was one of the sexiest, funniest games of recent.
The Baldur's Gate 3 we can touch on because I have made more than a few people upset by my quite scathing critiques of that game.
Okay. Well, I really like it,
I
so we can
find
fight
that
about
a
it.
couple of the sex scenes in that are terribly done. But that's me, because I have sat there and I've made the same argument you're making, but in regards to Baldur's Gate 3, where I played through, I got to camp, and all of a sudden they wanted to have an orgy. And I was sat there going, I just want to slay a dragon. However, I am also of a Dragon Age Origins background, back in the day, where Leliana is the first and foremost waifu of my life. Sorry, my wife that is in the other room. But the idea that... So sex can be done well, and you can build up to it and tell a fantastic story. But that's
What's
not
the best sex in a video game you've ever had?
I don't think I'm allowed to say it on stream.
Oh. Can you mention the name of the game?
Skyrim.
Skyrim.
I don't think you can have sex in
modded
Skyrim.
I'm sorry, modded Skyrim?
Yeah, well, you can do modded Skyrim. That makes it incredibly more interesting. But no, when you go to sleep with your spouse, you wake up with something, another buff. So I'm just going to say that to get out of this question and carry on with my main point. My main point is that humans have expressed sex and sexuality in a myriad of ways for a myriad of reasons since our beginning. You've got the Venus statuettes all the way back in Çatalhöyük in Turkey, and that's some of the most early archaeological evidence we have of like religious activity surrounding fertility goddesses. You've got statuettes outside throughout the subcontinent of India of some incredibly voluptuous ladies, which could actually pass for modern day anime characters in their proportions. You've got some very interesting writing coming out of the Greeks and Roman worlds as to what they got up to. You've got vases with some very flagrant paintings on there. So when we look at the way that humans use and express sexuality throughout our art expressions, there's a myriad of forms. And we also use it to set off grander stories. Now, I've hosted quite a few topics on the idea of eroticism in genre fantasy. You might be able to tell from my livery here that I am a fantasy kind of guy. That is what I do. In fact, Wick was going to be on this show, but he cancelled on me, the bastard, where I hosted a topic.
I did not cancel. You had to reschedule the show.
I fucked up the time zones, all right?
Oh, no.
But I hosted a big show on the use of erotica within fantasy storytelling to get across different points. I brought up Red Sonja earlier on. She is very much a victim of SA, I'm told I have to use in this crowd. And through that experience, a goddess gives her the power.
Assault. You can just say it. We don't have
well, it's a bit more than that. This is Conan's universe. But she was given the ability by a goddess to become this amazing swordswoman, and no man could lay with her lest he beat her in fair combat. And she goes around in next to nothing kicking ass. Belit, Queen of the Black Coast, is very similar. She's a queen that uses her beauty and her sexuality to rule over a lot of very rowdy sailors. But they're also still women. They keep these parts sort of private for their main love interest, so to speak, which is Conan. and you get a lot of this artwork coming out of these really beautiful women who are fierce and strong and powerful hanging off his arm, because it presents to the reader a sort of pairing that is the apex, and this is a Greek idea, the apex of what a human pairing should look like. And then you also have other examples where you've got the Drizzt Catty Bree story, which goes on for about 20 books before they sleep together. So, there is plenty of sexuality being put forward in all sorts of media, and you're not going to shame people out of it because they've been doing it since time immemorial.
Yeah, so my idea of
just before you respond, I got a couple super chats, and people pay me money to say words, so I'm going to have to do that, and then I'll pass it right back to you.
Okay.
$2 from Zephyr Ash to say better tatas make better stories, and that's a fact. Thank you for the $2. Zetsway for $10 says Quiet's outfit is 100% for girls to cosplay. Kojima said this specifically, but her breathing through her skin is cool. She's a sniper who doesn't have to hold her breath to steady her aim. Thank you for the $10. Okay, go ahead. I'm going to give it back to you to respond.
So again, I think you're misconstruing a couple of my arguments here, because there are some of these things that I absolutely agree with, like the history of sex and all that. Like these are all things that I think are like, yeah, of course. This is not necessarily bad to have sex as part of a story, or sex to like further a character. However, when Googling the Red Sonja character, and I can't get her up here on screen, maybe I can screenshot a certain point, but she is wearing like a chainmail bikini and is always showing her midriff.
Bikini lady.
And frankly, that doesn't make any sense in the universe of a melee combat, fantasy setting. It's an embarrassing reason to put someone.
She is quite literally blessed by a goddess.
Yeah, so you can make your bullshit fantasy reason to post hoc rationalize why they are naked, but they're naked because it's hot. That's to be clear.
Yeah.
They have to make up a reason afterwards in
She's
universe.
hot and kick ass, and I'm sorry that threatens you.
I'm not threatened at all. I could probably kick this woman's ass, to be clear, because I'm a man. But let me be clear.
That's not happening, man.
Yeah, I know. I'm sure in universe I would be the
spike
that would
very
have his head cut off. No. But
and if you did,
the point is that
I'm pretty sure Conan would be quite upset if you tried it.
That's true. Yeah, he would kill me. No. The point here is not that people can't be hot, right? You look at Baldur's Gate 3. I'm going to keep coming back to this. There's lots of hot characters. I think pretty much every main character.
By the way, have you seen the modding scene for Baldur's Gate 3? Pretty much.
Yeah, I've seen the Withers, big hodonkalonkalers like mod
people are
too.
Keep doing this, man. You're not going to.
Right, you can make them even more overtly sexualized. But the point is, every single one of those characters is conventionally attractive and can get naked, and you can fuck every single one of them. The reason it's different is because all of that stuff makes sense in a universe, right? None of those people wear chainmail bikinis that suddenly make them the most powerful, greatest, like fighter ever. However, if you get naked, technically, I think you are a little more agile, which would make sense. It's stupid. You shouldn't do it. You have no protection. But this character that you've just pointed out, Red Sonja, is like embarrassingly so clearly drawn to be pornographic, and then rationalized afterwards. Okay, well, how can I make this less, like just I'm doing this to make her naked? That's fine that you enjoy it. I just think it's bad writing and it's embarrassing.
A little bit of a housekeeping here. We do have one more guest who's made it and joined it. Tuna Chip is coming in to fight the Gooners. Okay. And he's going to jump in.
No way.
I was beating him off just fine.
Okay, I know you're beating off all the Gooners just fine by yourself, but Tuna Chip really wanted to say hi and
was that a
stop
Spinder icon? Man, I'm he had a Spinder as his icon. I'm 12. I've been transported back.
Yeah, it's a little bit past my familiarity. That's one or two generations past mine, but regardless, I just want to interject because I feel like this is an ageless conversation that can really go down one direction. But two primary points, two things with this like recent era of gooning and recent like the way that sex is in modern media is not how it was before. The sex culture we have now is not as it was before. So this idea that sex has eternally been in media, not the sex that we have now, and not the representations of sex that we have now. The fidelity, the access, the cultural container that media is inside of right now is way, way, way different. You couldn't, the thing about, say, a written or orally transmitted sexual document back in the past was it was limited by space and time, and it was an expression of just like, yeah, people are horny, people want to have sex, but there was an intimacy with the people that were making it. There was an intimacy with the people that were reading it, and the context in which they were having it. What we have now is, ironically, the desexualization of sexual media, where it's no longer sex, it is pure pornography. It is separated from the act of sex. Do you understand what I mean by this?
We're not talking about porn, though, are we?
We are talking about porn, because
we're talking about erotica,
sexual propaganda. Sexual propaganda. It's like it's like you are looking at it, and the point of it is to cause the stimulation. Versus before, erotica is very much so meant to entice a person to go out and do sex. We don't have that same climate. You're not playing God of War, seeing tits on it and thinking, you know what, I'm gonna go pursue sexual intimacy in my real life. The act of watching it and playing it isn't actually promoting sexual intimacy. You pursue sexual intimacy in spite, not due to. I really doubt that you were playing a Gooner game and then said to yourself, you know what I really need to do? Put down the controller and find a wife. No one said that in their entire life.
What?
What? Wait,
Okay.
are you implying that was the case before? I'm sorry, Tuda, are you implying that was the case before, that eroticism in games before would lead you to go find a lady and give it to her with all of your might?
Not in games. Not in games. I'm not talking about like, the decline of sex in games. I'm saying that when people make arguments where it's like, look at the Romans, look at the Greeks, look at early media. Sex has always been in media. Sex used to be a bigger part of our lives, and media used to be more connected to actual physical space and other human beings than it is now. We're more isolated with our media diet and consumption now than ever.
Well,
sex in video games is not even sex. It's pure pornography. That's the thing about it.
But we're not talking about pornography.
No, he's saying that it's akin to pornography. Okay.
He's saying it's pornographic insofar as
we should not allow this equivocation to be made, because it is a fallacy, for one, and for two, it's not what we're talking about. You can pull the face if you like, my friend, but we're talking about a game which, there is risque outfits and there is boob physics, but there is no...
That's porn.
No.
That's porn.
Hold on.
Yeah, no, Lore, you have to ask yourself when you, like, depending on what this is, right? So, like, if you can get naked in Baldur's Gate, I would probably not call that pornographic, right? In the same way, I don't think that a sex scene in a TV show is necessarily pornographic. But if you look at the intent of why it is placed in the game, for example, if there was a 3-minute full frontal, shot in fucking TV show, and it was like, they just keep fucking, that's a little more pornographic, right? You might be like, wait a minute, I'm not watching a show anymore. They're fully nude fucking, right? So when you're in the game and it's like, okay, there's boob physics insofar as like, yeah, we've just modeled this character. That's very different from Stellar Blade, where every single outfit is meant to sexualize the woman's body, has absolutely nothing to do with whether or not it protects them from the, crazy organic creatures from the dystopian future. It's just meant to make you horny. That's it. Like, that's why it's
porn. If when you put it that way, I should probably go to confession.
But I guess okay, sorry, but it just means to me that, like, Stellar Blade is not your game, though.
It's just
that's a different argument. Yeah.
I'm saying I legitimately
media, but yes.
I mean that's fine. I'm just saying that, like, it just seems like it's not your media. That's all, right?
It's not. You're right.
It's not necessarily.
It's not mine either. To be clear, right?
Okay, if every video game had like executing human, come again?
I was just surprised Icebeam's not into Gooner games. I thought she was, but that's okay.
No, I like different Gooner games. Okay, maybe not Stellar Blade, but let's.
Oh, fair enough.
We'll see.
But I do want a little bit of housekeeping. We have a new guest, Star Nova. Welcome to the show.
Hey everybody, how you doing?
Doing well. We're talking about gooning in games, and I figured she'd be great for this panel. Okay.
Why did you think that, Wick?
Yeah, I don't
Nova
know.
play a lot of games?
To me that she might be
Stand up, Wick. Stand up.
Stand up.
I'm just curious. Nova, are you a gamer? Do you play a lot of games?
Yeah, I like him.
Okay, but anyway, on with the show, on with the story, and just jump in whenever you feel like.
Thanks for having me, by the way.
Of course. Go ahead.
So, what I'm trying to argue, and this is a thing about video games in particular, but as well as modern cinema, these are extremely dense products that are componential. And when a component is easily slotted into media, so much so that it feels like the returns for a business are infinitely, it's always worth it, it will continue to be slotted in. Just like there are always lollies in anime, there seems to always be some element of sexuality, the degree to which gets more and more, I say controversial. Stellar Blade is a more controversial, but I'm saying that there is porn in the video game. The video game isn't purely porn, but we keep putting porn in the video game. I don't think that that's a good direction to go with culture, because I don't actually think that the arguments that hold that we are sexual creatures actually hold for this, because I don't think that that's the motive. I think that this is an isolation.
There is no
an isolatory form of sex. I wouldn't even call it sex. I would call it just touching yourself.
That's because
No, I think
Is that what they're doing? Touching themselves?
Hold on. Let's go in order. We can't all talk over each other. Let's start with Jack. We'll go to Ice
I'm
Beans,
going to be
and then
really,
Star will jump
really
in. Go
quick.
ahead.
It's just a sentence is like there is no porn in what you have just said. There is porn in, and we shouldn't be equivocating because it is a fallacy and it is plain wrong.
Would you let your boss let you play it at work? Do you think your boss would be okay with you playing Stellar Blade at work?
Okay with me playing anything at work. However,
okay, but if on your break, if you were on the break in their lunchroom and you're playing Stellar Blade,
did let me bring a Nintendo 64 in once. So
okay, fair enough. Well, your boss is an asshole, but what I'm saying is clearly one of these games is not safe for work. Versus if you were playing Kirby or N64, Smash Bros, they'd be like, "Oh, you're just gaming."
Look, he's seen some of the artwork I've had commissioned for some of my characters, and he gave me.
You want a 5-year-old to play Stellar Blade? Do you understand the difference between a 5-year-old playing Stellar Blade?
Okay, hold on. Now this is a different.
This
is a different argument altogether. Now you're talking about ratings.
No, I'm not talking about ratings. I don't believe in that shit. That's stupid. I'm saying we know that it's porn because we know who it's for. We know that a child's not going to understand the sexual undertones of Stellar Blade. We know that it's not being made to stimulate some, because they are underdeveloped for the thing it is attempting to realize inside of your body. It wants you to be erect.
Makes an equivocation. That fails. Accuses of pedophilia.
Okay, hold on though. Wait. Tune up. But you could say, I'm sorry. You could say that literally about any other element in that game that is like, for example, if there's a mechanism in a game that literally equates to a dopamine button, like you could make the exact same argument against that. That's what you're saying, except about porn, right?
I'm saying that you know that it's... This is not a critique of the game. This is a critique of the argument that the thing inside of the video game is not porn. It is porn because it is made with and to the ends that porn is made with and to the ends of. There are things that you don't consider porn that are absolutely porn by the designer and by the purchaser. Why are you gonna just act as if
I think everybody. Okay, hold on a second. What you're considering to be porn is not pornographic for a lot of people.
Can you guys define pornographic?
Yeah.
Can either of you, Jack or Ice, define pornographic?
I'm actually reminded of a quote. I struggle to define pornography, but I know it when I see it.
I mean, I go by that definition as well. I was going to bring that up.
Does that not indicate that it's a little ambiguous, and especially when we can point at the intent of the author to cause erotic nature in the person playing the game, it might
again you've equivocated
pornography. But again,
that's why I'm asking you. You know, you see it, so I guess if you don't think it is, it's not. That's the only definition I get.
Hold on a second. Then can you? Okay, wait. Can you give me an example? Okay, can you give me then an example of a game that is not a specific sex game? Okay, I'm not talking about those actual Gooner games on Steam. Okay, I'm talking about a game that uses Gooner elements that is on that
Mortal
line
Kombat.
For you.
Any fighting game that has booba physics, Dead or Alive, Guilty Gear, Mortal Kombat. We know why it's there.
You say that is pornographic.
There's porn in the game, yes.
Okay, all right.
Absolutely.
And you're saying that porn being in the game is a detriment to said game?
Yes, and to culture at all, yes.
Okay.
I do want to.
I'd like to hear it, the explanation.
Yeah, I do want to I do want to give a chance for Star to get in here. I don't want to get talked over and things like that.
No, it's
what are
okay.
your thoughts? Go
Also,
ahead.
I'm still
My
listening. I'll be
thoughts
right back.
are some of it's looking a little X-rated, in my opinion.
Little X-rated. Can you give us some examples?
Well, if what I'm pulling up, I have not played this game, by the way. So if what I've just pulled up is what's in there, that's a little on the.
Which one did you pull up? Stellar Blade?
Yeah.
Yeah,
careful,
no, it's
Google
absolutely a Gooner game for sure. Yeah.
Yeah,
No,
that's
the thing that
pretty.
sucks. The thing that sucks about Stellar Blade is it's a Gooner game only insofar as the main character front and center, in the same way that 2B, but to a greater extent, Nier Automata, is sexualized. But the rest of the game, there are games where every single enemy has big cocks and tits and is naked. This is a game. This is why I think Stellar Blade is a good example of the argument, which is it is not a clean division. It is putting the porn of the game front and center and then using the rest of the game as this container, which tries to justify the fact that, oh, well, don't even worry, put it on the PS5. It's definitely not sexual content, while we are seeing people put their foot further and further in the door to create this. And I'm saying this because this is so hard. This is so hard for people to accept, but to put something that has nothing to do with sex and has everything to do with masturbation into the game.
But now but now this is an argument about ratings and what is it, like whether a platform
No, it's not.
It absolutely
It's not.
is. You're saying that
I'm not talking about ratings. I'm not an ESRB cunt.
You're talking about what is allowed on the platform, what is allowed to be marketed.
No, I'm not.
Let me try.
Legislating an allowance, Ice. What he's saying is you can clearly draw a distinction between let's say a very hyper-sexualized character who, let's say there's like a prostitute in a game, right? And this prostitute, her whole character is that she seduces people. Like in universe, this could absolutely be a way to have eroticism and have a character that makes sense that does it and put sex in your game. However, when you have the main character of Stellar Blade, which again, I haven't played all the way through this. I've played very, very little of this game. I don't think this character is like going around trying to seduce men. I think she's going around chopping up organic freaks in the dystopian future. But the reason that she is half naked the whole time is not because being half naked is like some way to make her more agile. It's not because any of these other like bullshit reasons that Kojima puts in his games. It's because it's hot. It's because they want people
it's the
to be
grand sin
on.
against the feminist religion, eh?
Sex sells.
You can't find a woman hot.
I never said you can't find a woman hot. I think there's plenty of games that have hot women in it that are not trying to like pornograph. Like, look at her ass. Her ass. So the camera is specifically centered around her ass. Yes, here's a good example, actually. Mass Effect 2. You remember Miranda from Mass Effect 2? She has a skin-tight suit. I'm sure in universe this makes sense, right? However, the camera will just for no reason at all pan to her ass in random dialogue shots. Not because there's anything on her ass. It's just say, hey, look at her fucking ass right now. And it's not in necessarily the romance scenes. It's just to be like, hey, teenage Mass Effect player, isn't this hot? Go jerk off to this. And it's embarrassing.
I understand that you like it, but you have to recognize, and this is the thing, I support the creation of de-sexing mods. I think that people should be making mods that de-sex games in the same way that people currently force sex into games, so that games become playable again. For people that don't want to just deal with the constant inundation of this shit. But the point is, sex is not, and I should say, it is not something that you put lightly into a game. It is not this random element that you put into a game. It's not like a dodge mechanic where people are putting it in on accident or because the flavor of the week. Porn has never been the flavor of the week. Porn has been the flavor of always forever, secretly sliding itself in like a greasy cock into your ass. It just wants to be there.
You haven't explained why the greasy cock in your ass is a bad thing. Go ahead, Tuna. I'm waiting.
Is there actually any sex? Is there actually any sex in Stellar Blade?
I don't care if there's person-on-person intimacy. The whole point is that the designer was making the character with the intent to create sexual stimulation in the player.
Let me just make sure that we are perfectly level with how I'm viewing what you're saying to me. The game is porn. There is no actual sex in the porn game. therefore bad.
No.
It doesn't seem like
I'm talking-
you are constructing something based purely on your subjective opinion that you don't like the fact that a female character is designed in such a way, based off a model, actually, so she's an actual
I don't care
person.
what the sex of the character is. I don't care about this particular game. Also, I wouldn't define the game as porn. I would say that there's porn in the game. There are multiple statements I've said that you've erroneously ignored.
You as a good Catholic boy. If you were one of my previous popes, you'd be going around the Vatican knocking all the penises off the statues.
Jack, can I give you an example of this? Like, okay, you would agree that without sex, you could have a erotic photo of a naked woman presenting herself, sexually, right? This is like clearly, it would still be pornographic, but would not be.
Oh, this is actually something I played
yes.
devil's advocate for with a guy called Lord Mateus over on my stream, and that is, I don't believe this is the case, but I asked him.
So if
can porn
are you telling
be
me a
art?
naked woman maybe masturbating would not be porn?
Well, I would consider that pornography, but is that in Stellar Blade?
Wait, hold on. Let me finish. If a game rewarded you by beating levels with pictures of naked women or scantily clad women, would you consider that pornographic? Or would you say, well, it's just part of the universe that the characters in this game like to reward the main character with photos of
apples and
themselves?
oranges here, Soypill, because you've.
I'm not talking about. I'm giving you a hypothetical. Please engage with it.
You've gone from talking about a video game which shows an attractive woman kicking ass to here is a game which rewards you with specific sex scenes and acts of sexual.
I'm trying to make an argument, and we can move from there. So would you consider that?
Hold on.
One gooner at a time.
What exactly? One gooner at a time. That's all I can handle. I'm a newbie on the gooner thing. Okay, let's.
Can I tag in?
Sure. Just real quick.
What do you think? What do you think a cutscene in Bayonetta is, if not a reward, a sexually illicit reward for beating the enemy?
Is she masturbating in it?
Is she masturbating in it? No, she's her brassiere is snapping open. Buttons are shooting everywhere. Her tits going out. Her face is flush. She makes an orgasm sound. She often bends her arches her back in ecstasy.
So you got a bit of fan service going on there.
Yeah, what is fan service?
Is there any nipples?
Jesus Christ!
Well,
actually,
I think.
Jack, but like, if you were to censor bar over it, like Japanese people doing their porn, does it stop being porn?
No, but it's not pornography, is it?
What makes it pornography? Because again, the only definition you've given is I know it when I see it.
It sounds more artistic.
Can I take a picture of your child doing the exact same thing?
Okay, hold on a second. Hold on a second. Wait a second.
All right, so maybe not that one.
Okay. But you get hit like, okay, look, we're going into dangerous territory here.
Yeah.
I want to.
Any expression of human sexuality must be pedophilia.
Just a minute.
You don't get the fucking point, man. You recognize that if a child was doing it, it would be sexual content. But when it's an adult and you don't see nipple, you want to.
No, he's just not agreeing. He's just not agreeing. He's just not agreeing that it meets the. He doesn't meet.
You are equivocating.
Let me ask you guys something.
What do you okay, do you care about the difference between sexual content with the intention of creating stimulation and porn?
What was you saying, Nova?
I was going to say, back in the day, you guys had bikini calendars, lingerie calendars, all of those types of things kind of fell more under, like the old Budweiser commercials and Tool Time with Taylor on Home Improvement. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's not always, so erotic doesn't necessarily mean pornography. So are we talking more porn. Artistic? Yeah. No, I don't think that's porn.
It was porn.
A bikini model? That's not porn.
Yeah. When you put a bikini model in something specifically to be gooned to be gawked at, that is porn. That is the point of porn.
Well, that's what I'm asking.
You're a man of extremes,
are we talking about in various, revealing clothing, or are we talking specifically, basically almost sexual acts? Because erotic does not necessarily mean porn.
Thank you.
Thank you.
This is exactly what I was saying just before you got here.
By the way, I used to do some of that stuff. Okay, so that hence me, yeah. So hence
sex worker.
Nope.
Sex worker.
Oh,
nope.
hold on.
Just calendar.
But
Fully clothed.
Again, Tuna, can we go back to why the greasy cock in the ass is bad? You still have not substantiated that. I get, because that is our disagreement. Because here's the problem: I don't think you and I know what you're not gonna agree. You're not gonna agree. Like, this is a loop. We're not gonna agree that what you say is porn is like erotica, right? But why is it bad? Go ahead. Like, are you saying, like, for example, I would say that the pornography, if I'll concede to using your framing, in Mortal Kombat, like, I have no issues with it. Like, it's a part of the game. It's ridiculous, and it's a part of the game, just like the excessive blood, right?
The issue is that the portrayal of women in that game is not, hey, what would a, massive, cool fighter who's like ripping people's hearts out look like? It's, how can we make the sexiest, hottest, gooneriest character that people want to jerk off to? And then also then rationalize why they're in this fighting tournament, especially when this is a problem with Mortal Kombat characters that aren't just the gooner ones. They all look exactly the same. And it's just like, okay, this is very clearly just meant to titillate. It's meant to sell the game to younger male audiences. And the reason it's bad is because it makes the game worse insofar as it's not as good as it could be when you have a game like Baldur's Gate 3, which I would say literally has porn in it. They have two naked people having sex in it. And it's like, you know what? The reason I'm not like, this game makes sense is because this is something that is built up to as part of the story. People aren't like running around and like fucking you as part of the mechanic to be like, oh, you want to keep playing, you want that dopamine hit, like, I'm gonna take off my clothes. It's more of a, hey, you're in a game, you're fighting, your female characters get more clothed as they want to become stronger and more defensive, because obviously that's how it works. It makes sense in game. But also, if you want to have an intimate relationship after you've built up something, you can. That's the point, is that something with good writing knows how to put even pornographic material in the game without ruining and sacrificing the story, whereas before it was used as a crutch to sell to the mostly young male gamer audience. It's just kind of lame.
Wait, hold on. Are you seriously telling me that, like, that Melina in Mortal Kombat, like, is a detriment to the game, like, because she's like, I think very
the character design of all the scantily clad women, Melina actually might be an exception. It's not she like some sort of succubus character versus the other ones are just, hey,
I know some of them are recolors and shit, right? Yeah, right. Okay.
So the point is not that the concept of a seductress is bad in the game. The point is that all of these characters are meant to be gooner, booby ladies, because it's meant to appeal to the young male audience. But they can
still provide value, though, to the game, and still end up becoming iconic characters in their own right.
I didn't say they couldn't do that. I'm saying that it's worse than when you actually write good characters into the game and it makes sense for why they're dressed a certain way, not they all look this way because in the Mortal Kombat universe you have to wear the bikini or else you get disqualified or whatever reason.
I agree that
pretty sure the story in Mortal Kombat is secondary to the whole bunching and blood and guts and
I don't think there's like the story of these games is just, I feel like, at least as far as Mortal Kombat is it feels very tacked on afterwards, right? Like so I don't give a shit as to like exactly what their reasoning is, even if it's a bad reasoning, because that's not why I'm playing the game. I'm playing the game so that I can like pick Baraka, and no, I mean that wasn't. I only played Baraka whenever I could on the games that had him, right?
But like,
if I may, though,
yeah, the little arms guy, yeah.
I think that we're kind of missing Tuna's point. I'm going to jump in a little bit, and then I'm going to introduce Joe Lewis, who graciously agreed to join us. Thank you for joining us, Joe Lewis. The point, I think, and Tuna can correct me if I'm wrong, that he is trying to make is that by focusing on this erotica, pornography, he calls it pornography, but sexuality in these games, it's hurting our culture in a way that it hasn't before, because it is designed to keep you there and have you stimulate yourself, right? Or to stimulate you while you're alone in your room by yourself. Whereas before, with the art in ancient times, with other things, erotic storytelling that was done orally, that was more of a group thing where you would go out into the group and mingle and socialize. And so, if I'm correct in how I'm rephrasing this, and Tuna, again, you can correct me, his problem is that it's designed and placed there by design to get mostly young men to jack off and stay at home.
Yeah, by and large. And also,
I agree with that.
you know, I would go further to say
harmful.
that. Say it again.
And that's harmful.
Yeah, it's harmful. I also think that it is both the symptom and the cause, in that we are creating a feedback loop of individualistic sexuality, which is divorced from the common culture. People, like, we know that there is a decline in sex, there's a decline in going out for any reason at all. And it's because I think that sex is actually a primary motivator in socialization, even with friends, not even just necessarily with the opposite sex or the target sex, whatever you want to call it. We're looking at something, even like the book talk erotica stuff. I don't care about the term erotica here. I would still call it pornography, in that what is extremely clear is that the person is not indulging the development of their personal sexual identity and preferences. They are instead entering an isolatory environment, which is increasingly more extreme, and the extremity of it makes it so that it is more divorced from your real life.
But then why is this related? Why is this seemingly like there could be other aspects of these games that tie into that? Why is gooning specifically, or fan service type qualities, which are not, again, not new? Why is that the focus here? Like,
well, it's not
rather than the other you know, other elements of it, like gambling elements, for example, or gotcha, the whole gotcha shit. Like,
right, I would make the same arguments about that, Ice, right? Like gambling, especially in a game where it doesn't make sense. So, for example, in Pokemon, when you go to the casino and you have to gamble to win some prize, sure, whatever. However, when it's like, hey, we've put gotcha, you know, keys and crates into this game, and we're constantly trying to get you addicted to this thing, and it doesn't have really anything to do with the integrity of the story or the gameplay. It's just a mechanic to keep you doing it longer, and you're sacrificing some sort of better game for this dumb element, especially that preys upon a natural human instinct like sexuality. That makes it worse. And by the way, just to be clear, I'm not advocating for censorship or making this illegal necessarily, although maybe with the gambling thing and kids, I'm more advocating for, look, if you criticize bad media, if you get more people to understand why you think it's bad and they agree with you, less people will purchase it in the free market, and then more people will make good media that I actually want to consume. So that's why I think games like Stellar Blade should be criticized, not that they should be censored, not that they're bad.
Respond real quick.
Wait, real quick. You play Sisters of Battle in Warhammer, right?
I do.
What do you think about the Repentia?
The Repentia?
Repentia, yeah. The ones that wear like the piece of tissue paper over their boob.
They've been stripped because they're punished. They're meant to go in and through blood and battle redeem themselves to repent.
So they get more clothes the more battles they win?
Well, actually, more armor.
Stupid
right?
point, because
they're
slayers in
purposely.
fantasy.
Hold on, no, I want to answer this, right? And then we'll toss it to you guys.
Someone in my chat asked me about it. I'm just curious because it looks funny.
But through the lore, they are meant to go into the heart of battle, to the hardest fighting, and rely only on their faith in God. And so they are purposely stripped of their protections, their worldly protections, to rely on the faith in the Emperor to protect them. So it's not for gooning purposes. It's for lore purposes.
I don't know. I've seen Twitter.
Sure thing, bud.
I've seen Twitter.
I'm just saying it is. I don't know what to tell you. Joe, welcome to the show. What are your thoughts? Gooning and gaming? Are you a gooner?
No.
No?
I'm not a gooner in gaming. So I guess catch me up. Like, first off, my bad. I thought you guys started at 7. I keep forgetting you start at like 6 o'clock. So that's my bad. So like, where are we in the conversation? So I can kind of understand. I don't want to like rehash something and then we're going back like an hour, you know?
We haven't made much progress. Go ahead.
Well, I guess we'll just keep going, and then when you're ready, just jump in whenever you have some.
I guess I'll get my take then, or I guess like sort of my thoughts on it as I was driving through. I think that there's an entanglement, or I don't even say it's an entanglement. I just think that we have like this consumer-driven economy and this consumer-driven identity that's very hyper-individualistic that doesn't really have any sort of thought around the sort of like the communal consequence of certain things. Like, because there's such hyper individualism, people will think like, oh, my desires are consistent with the desires of others. And then consumers, and basically like when I say consumers, I'm talking people who make these products, essentially can drive the personal narrative, like the individual narrative. So like if you have a character that looks a certain way for decades, the Melina example is a good one, because if anybody, which is why I was like kind of questioning, I don't know if you can seriously play Mortal Kombat, because she did get a redesign in 11, and that redesign in 11 with along with the other characters received critical backlash because those characters were desexualized in very overt ways. And
I did not see the redesign. I did not hear about this, but also it's been
no, you don't play. It's fine.
Yeah.
I'm not going to hold you to the
She
cross
doesn't
on
have
a
a
game you don't
midriff
play
anymore. You know, she's not in the.
Yeah, I'm not going to hold people on the cross.
Still very sexy.
Yeah, my point is, like, I'm not trying to hold people on the cross on a game they don't play, but like it's important to understand, like, yeah, like in certain aspects there's been pushback and challenges with these redesigns. Street Fighter is another one that comes to example, where anytime there's a redesign of Chun-Li, there's just intense backlash within the community. And then my concern about these things is, from an art perspective, it's totally fine and appropriate for characters to have reworks within one iteration to another. Like those sort of design choices I'm totally fine with. My concern is that when you have a prevailing expression over essentially just sexual parts, like what we consider sexual parts, breasts, ass, waists, and stuff like that, and a character is just sort of pigeonholed to look like that forever, that's not good, since we don't really have the communal networks to like explain why that character is actually fantasy. So people will then go out into the world expecting women to look this particular way, expecting men to act this particular way. And that's my concern. I don't think we have the communal wherewithal for men to understand sort of body differences in women as of yet. But that's just one of many things.
Don't accept that in the slightest.
Go ahead, elaborate, please, Jack.
What can I'll, if that's all right, I'll also make this my closer, because it's past midnight and I've got to get up to work to provide for my wife. Which is a point. Like, can I? This is.
Are you the only married one, by the way? I think. Raise your hand.
I'm
if you're
married.
also married.
You're married.
Well, fuck you guys.
So
Engaged.
Yeah, engaged.
Fuck
So,
you
look,
guys.
what I want to say is that a lot of the argument here has sort of hinged on erotica, not pornography, being something that damages a person's sexuality. Now, actual porn, where you have, full frontal vaginal penetration or other such sex acts. Yes.
Wait, hold on. I thought that you couldn't describe it. I thought it was the indescribable, only ever able to be felt, only when are you watching porn right now? Because you're
come
suddenly able to
on,
describe it.
Tuna,
Sure
come
that I've used
on.
sexual. I'm pretty
You're
sure I've used
suddenly-
sexual acts quite a few times.
The thing is, well, not. Before you said that the only time that you could ever tell whether or not something is porn is when you're watching it, which makes me think you're watching porn right now.
I'm going to keep talking back to you.
Real quick.
You think
Tuna,
everybody's
he
doing
does have
weirdo
to go
shit?
soon, so
Share
we're
your
gonna let him. We're
Look,
gonna let him finish up his.
He's got to go goon to bed.
Nice. Look, I already satisfied the wife for the evening, so I'm just going to go straight to sleep. Look, I am married to a incredibly beautiful, incredibly lovely lady that I imported all the way from the States. And I love her very much. We've been together since for about 9 years now. We've known each other since we were 12 or 13 through the internet. And
Since you were both 12 or 13, right?
Yes,
Okay.
she's only a year younger than me. Well, 9 months younger than me. And she and I have known each other for a long, long time. And throughout that entire time, she has been reading my writing. And I have written some incredibly dark stuff. I've written some incredibly mythologically heroic stuff. I have written some incredibly intense, and I like to pat myself on the back for this, because I have had some very conventionally attractive ladies pay me money to write them smut. So I am quite proud of my ability to achieve the tantalizing effect that is so abhorrent to the.
Hold on, I don't mean to interrupt, but you've been paid to write women smut.
Yeah, elaborate.
I'm not going to elaborate on YouTube.
That's awful. Where did you have to do this?
Yeah, this is.
No, what I'm
this
saying
awful
is
content.
when you actually want to create something, when I create a sex scene in
in the service of a larger story, there is a point to it. Sometimes I just want to make two of my characters kiss or bang because it's like playing with my action men and my sister's Barbie dolls when I was 6. It's that simple. Sometimes people just do things for the enjoyment of it. I take massive exception to everything under the sun being pornographic, and to be honest, quite a bit of exception to Nova here being called a sex worker for what I would consider quite tasteful work from what she's described. And look, people express sexuality. It is okay for people to express masculine heterosexual sexuality. And I think after 2014, Gamergate 2, and the last sort of decade of desexualization of the industry and the flop after flop after flop that gives us, it is okay for us to finally have a booby game. And that's that. And by the way, I want to stress very quickly, and I mean no disrespect to any of you, I find actual real 3D people quite gross. Apart from the wife, I would never ever find any of you attractive in the slightest. I apologize, ladies.
You mean you don't want to fuck us all?
Wick, I can make an exception. Wick, if I ever meet Wick, that's an exception. What I'm trying to explain is there is a stark difference between what can happen in the realm of fiction. Again, I do fantasy. It's what I do. And what happens within the real world. And if what you're consuming is harming you, tuna, soy, don't consume it. If you can't handle it, just don't do it. And I honestly, I mean that. Like in a mental health, men's awareness month, whatever it is now, then do not consume things that you find damaging to you. However, there are those of us that are, enjoy it and still get on with the usual traditional societal life and community and all the other communist buzzwords that I've heard tonight. And with that, I need to go to bed because I've got to go to work tomorrow and function in the real world. But it's been lovely.
Good night.
On his, I linked his YouTube in the description. Go check it out.
I gotta point out the fact that he called out the whole idea of Gamergate and look at all these desexualized flops when Baldur's Gate 3, the example that I keep bringing up as something that tastefully inserts sex into their game without it being a distracting mechanic to sell the game specifically, is one of the best selling games of recent memory and one of the best rated games of recent memory. And it does all of that without saying, hey, look at the boobs right in your face. Isn't this cool? No one's saying that you can't do this. No one's saying you can't enjoy this. What we're saying is this is dumb and embarrassing. And if I get more people to not play these shitty games that sacrifice good story for being Gooner games, then we'll have more better games like Baldur's Gate 3. But
that I'm not really buying. Like, I mean, I'll whoever just spoke finish. My bad.
That's me. Hi, I'm the Soy Pill. Nice to meet you, man.
Oh no. Ice Beam was trying to get in.
Oh, to Jack.
Yeah.
No, go ahead, Joe. I'll go in afterwards.
All right. So first up, I don't know what that Brit owner was having. I had no idea what he was fucking talking about. I ain't trying to hold y'all. I just thought that was some crazy word salad. I don't know why he let it go as long as it did, Wick. So like
outro, but yeah.
I mean, it's outro, but damn, that's something to say. But again, I missed an hour, so maybe there was something that I missed. I don't really buy too deeply into this idea that there are sort of overt American Gooner games. I guess you'd have to point to something from like American company that's like overtly making a game for gooning.
Who made that rape game? I mean, I'll take the dub for that.
Lollipop Chainsaw American.
Unfortunately for you, unfortunately, Tuna, you're gonna have to be a bit more specific than that.
The game that was called the rape game.
It's called that?
Wow, they allowed that?
No idea.
Excuse me, no. Lollipop Chainsaw was Japanese. I apologize. You're right. That was not American. It was just had American voice actors in it.
Yeah, because we have examples of games that are even based on sexualized IPs that are just out in the public. A game that comes to mind is Action Timeman, and even then they have to play this fine line between what's acceptable on Steam versus what's acceptable on Play Stores in the United States. And very often they're put in positions where they have to have some level of. And again, this is a Japanese company making a Japanese game, so like that. But when they're interacting with the states, they're going to have to be doing different types of toning down to the best of their ability, which comes to like costume censorship, but I've never seen, at least in recent memory, of an American company having to participate in that level of overt adjustment of the presentation of their female characters, even their male characters. That's why I'm asking, like,
Overwatch,
where's this
right?
the idea?
Do you remember the Tracer's butt controversy in Overwatch? I remember that. That was semi-recent, maybe 2016.
None of that's in the Bible. You want to explain that to me?
So Tracer had a big protruding bubble butt, and they censored it, and everyone freaked out because her butt was too big, apparently. So they had to. Blizzard did this. I thought that wasn't a big deal. I think that is like not necessarily super gooner. It was just a normal butt, but enough people complained about the female representation in the game. So that might be a place where like I don't think the line has been crossed, but that's not necessarily a gooner game specifically, especially with a game that has such a wide variety of body types, and like the girls don't moan sexually when they get hit like in some of the League of Legends original content voice lines. So
real funny you bring up League of Legends. Real quick, so are you saying then that Baldur's Gate isn't a gooner game?
Yeah, I don't think Baldur's Gate is a gooner game in the same way Stellar Blade is.
Okay.
So they're
but
gooner
by
games,
by,
then?
by like Tuna's definition, that would be a gooner game.
Well, maybe me and Tuna might differ on this, but my point is when the sex is not part of the writing, right?
Yeah,
and there's more like I don't think Stellar Blade has a sex scene in it. Maybe not. I've never played all the way through.
Sure,
Baldur's
it just
Gate
has the other
naked,
sexual
full-on nudity sex scenes, right? But I think those are not gooner insofar as they are not like the driving force of the game. It's not, hey, the character on screen is always overtly sexual. We've drawn her as this like almost like sex doll character specifically, like they do in Stellar Blade. Which, by the way, it's not like these people don't exist,
but the sex is part of the
right?
appeal, though. The sexual elements are
I'm aware
part
of
it.
that. I'm saying that
I
is
think
worse in the writing.
I think the difference between games like Baldur's Gate and games like Stellar Blade. Baldur's Gate, you don't have to have sex with anyone. You can the sexuality in it, you can almost entirely
Sure, you
opt
can turn
out.
it off. Yeah, effectively turn it off.
Stellar Blade.
It's a real sentence.
Stellar Blade.
Let him down easy.
That's
well,
it.
no, turn it off as in like.
Yeah, I
have no idea. I have no idea what that means. I don't want to interrogate what that means.
We're not going to go into it. We're not going to go into it. No, we're gonna pretend it wasn't said. Okay, but the point is, Stellar Blade and games like that, you can't. There's no choice.
But okay, hold on. But hold on a second. I think what I'm fundamentally not understanding is that to me when you are playing Stellar Blade, there's no wishy-washiness about it. You are playing a booby game, more booby game than normal.
Yes. The booby character is framed
signed
in center
up for
screen.
this. You've signed up for this.
She moves in certain ways to express her boobiness.
This is an empty. This is you are going to struggle with this. I think because Stellar Blade, we can agree that the marketing and the discourse around it sexualized it, but the only thing sexual about Stellar Blade is that the character is dressed scantily clad. People, I want to play Stellar Blade, but I'm not going to because there's no way for me to play it in a way that doesn't make me feel like I am having sex rammed down my throat.
Okay,
right?
So, then that's fine. I think that I'm not saying you're not valid for feeling upset at that, right? Like every single time.
It's not just about upsetness. It's not just about upsetness.
No. I don't mean to minimize that. I don't mean to minimize that because I do think.
This is not about scale. This is not about scale. I'm saying that you are missing the core actual issue to me because I have no problem with pornography existing at all. It is about the slow creep of it into mainstream media such that you cannot engage inside of the media landscape without having to ignore not just normal, but specifically private pornographic depictions of of sexuality.
Wait, so
every time that you watch a TV show, somebody that looks like Joe Louis, but instead he's got gold chains and he's doing some fucked up accent, you wouldn't just say, oh, well, if you don't want stereotypical renditions of black people, don't watch that show. You would say, wait, why is CBS airing this?
No, I would watch another show that doesn't do the stereotypical. If that's what I want, that's what you're saying. Like that's my point. Is that if you don't like Stellar Blade,
the main character's name.
You don't like sex being
imagine
rammed down your throat. Don't play Stellar Blade.
You're watching a TV show where the main character's name is N-word Scissorhands. The dude has Jar Jar Binks' voice. We're talking about things that you can't honestly believe that people should not be thinking, wait a second, why is this happening in a mainstream game and not just some shitter game that's on Steam?
Okay,
This is a
yes.
mainstream game we're talking
Tuna's
about?
making is that it's
Stellar
like
Blade.
what critiquing media as
Oh.
Now he's
well as
asking about the
popular media.
theoretical. Yeah.
It's not just about if you don't like it, don't play it. This is a very important part of critiquing media that is very popular and saying, hey, this is a counter narrative to the idea that this either should be normalized, we should make more games like this, or that it's okay in the sense of like this is like good, like it's not good in our opinion. That's the whole point.
And I take so Phil, I think don't get me wrong. It's not that I have an issue with the critique. I don't have an issue with the critique. Okay, especially if you have a game that does most of these things and then just goes in with the excessive sexuality, that's fine, right? Because what you're effectively saying is, well, I would play this game, it checks off all these boxes for me, but it has this excessive sexuality that I can't get over, and so like I'd like a game like that, please. Can somebody make that, or can you consider adding it or whatever? That's fine. I don't have an issue with that specifically. My approach is just more of a let the content be made, and eventually the games that do check off that box and also have the amount of sexuality that you're fine with or that is tied in well, those are the games that are going to rise to the top, or that you have to
that is the
make
case, though.
sure. Well,
you're
have
kind
to
of
make
making
that
just
happen.
like a tautological argument. Like this over sexualization in games has been on the decline since, I don't know if you were like a gamer back in like 2007, 2008, but it was a lot more like overt with, especially when games were not really marketed to women at all. Now it's much more of a co-ed space. Before it was simply just like, hey, here's the reward for beating this level. Hey, like go into the GTA strip club and goon a little bit to these strippers. It had nothing really to do with the game. It was meant to market to the target audience. It's on the way out. I do agree that, yeah, I'm not going to buy it, but also speaking out against it is important because I want fewer games like this to be made, and eventually like it'll just kind of be on the marginalized like areas. But what's your point? I mean, yeah, that's how
my problem is that like, okay, so the again, like games like Stellar Blade that or games that are basically like porn games, but with a very basic mechanics and everything else slapped onto whatever, right? Like, I guess those games, like, don't get me wrong, I would have a distaste for those games as well, but them existing, there's a market demand for that, and so that demand is being met. And so I guess like for me, it's like for example, I stopped playing games for a reason, and I never ever play games for certain reasons, and I guess I don't understand why this isn't considered in the same vein.
So again, this goes like I criticize bad movies.
I'll let you go.
I'm like, this is slop. When these make a lot of money, more of them will be made, and they'll.
Soypil, please. I'll let you finish, but after you finish, I have maybe a direction to take us.
Sure. I'm just saying that having a vocal movement of critique of things that you consider bad is an important part of making those things happen less. Because if you see the ground of just, if you don't like it, don't play it. If you don't like it, don't watch it. Yeah, sure. But I think there should be like very strong pushes against things that I disagree with, because otherwise those things become more mainstream. That's how you get these slopification Disney movies that are coming out now, because not enough people are calling out just how fucking terrible some of these remakes are. And they make $400, $500, $3 jillion. Whereas when something really good and original, some IPO that like some person put their heart and creativity comes out, if we don't get enough people to support that thing, that's going to happen less. And I want more good things to be made, because unfortunately, although everything is, the free market, sometimes it is a zero-sum game with these studios and where they give money. And I want that to be going to good things.
Okay, gang. I do want to, I think maybe to help the conversation progress a little forward, I want to introduce kind of the gooners themselves. So not just the games, but the culture around it. Over and over and over again, when media comes out, so not just games, we're talking any kind of media comes out, a movie or a show. Well, let's look at the HBO Last of Us 2, right? People complain that the main character, the girl in that game, or that show, I should say, which is based on a game, isn't hot, that she's ugly. And you constantly see that whenever a game comes out and the main character who is female or one of the main female characters isn't hot enough or sexy enough or what have you, they get attacked. They get attacked by a swarm of greasy, gamey gooners. Is all I can tell them.
Tuna is
Greasy
poisoned.
gaming gooners.
Tuna has poisoned you with this grease analogy.
I said the word grease more than tuna.
Hold on, you
People who
recognize
look
that
like
that's
Wick.
happening. I want to ask Star, maybe get her in a little bit on this, right?
Yeah.
At what point would you? Let me ask you this:
Make the leads hot again? Is that the question, Wick?
How important?
How important are hot leads?
Yes.
I mean, that's why I watch Jack Reacher, so I'm just trying to make sure we're on the same page here.
It's important. It's no different than casting for a movie. You'll notice the less attractive the main stars are, the less pull the overall project is going to have. Same thing with the front man from a band.
Or bad? Is that good for our culture or bad? Or neutral?
Having somebody attractive as a front man for whatever industry it is not a bad thing, because more attractive people in general make more sales. Period. And it's about the money, right? It's about the money first.
Yeah. Can I give a counterexample to this where
Sales?
I completely agree with Nova,
yeah.
But take a look at, for example, they're casting for that movie that's a documentary on Sam Bankman-Fried, who is a not good-looking man, and his wife looks like a weird bug, right? And I think they're sacrificing artistic integrity of retelling that story because they cast two very attractive people as these not very attractive characters, and they don't look the part. And maybe they're going to do some makeup to make it fit, but what the problem is when you use sex to sell, that's not necessarily a bad thing. You know, sex is great.
Like
it's
a white
part of
guy.
sexuality. It's using sex to sell in a way that is sacrificing what otherwise would have been a more coherent story, where it's like, wait, does it make sense that the character just got naked for no reason on level 3? Oh no, they just do that every once in a while to make you play the game more. That's when I think it's bad, because it's like, well, this isn't really like part of the story in a way that makes sense. This is just you trying to make people play the game more. In the same way the gambling aspect doesn't fit into the world. That's my problem. The problem is not hot characters. The problem is not being attractive. The problem is when it's not fitting in what would otherwise be a more coherent and better written game.
Star, I kind of want to pick that because I think you have the better take here. So not in the better. I just think there's a little bit more to delve into that. So do you think that like cultural significance and historical significance be damned in media? If they're attractive, that's what's going to have to drive the culture forward or the community forward?
Okay, so I have a history in the entertainment industry. Okay,
I don't care, but yeah.
I look at it from the standpoint of how a story is written, and then casting comes into play. I don't really look at it from that standpoint because they're going to choose that based off of the product. Would I necessarily agree on moving so far away from a character that they don't represent the character anymore? No, as a writer, I would not. But as a production company, well, they're going to want to rake in the money, right? And it's going to sell further into other foreign markets, the most attractive and most presentable that you bring it. Do I necessarily agree, though, all the time? No, because it does sacrifice art.
Well, I don't believe you.
But the bean counters are in control of everything.
You're dancing around it, though. You're dancing around it where you're like, it's a great thing to do if you're an evil, money-obsessed goblin. Like, yeah.
Well, I mean, that's what I kind of want to parse that out, Superno. Do you think that the media landscape is, I'm not going to use those filler words that he made, but like, do you think that they are strictly profit driven?
Oh, fuck yeah, they are. Absolutely.
Do you think it's ever redeemable away from do you think there's going to be a revolution in media that's going to be against profit motive?
No, because
or do you think it's possible?
No, it's possible, but it'd be up to the consumer. If once the consumer goes in a different direction, boycotts and moves strongly away, and the profits decline, that's when you're making the statements to all these conglomerates, because they're all conglomerates now. They're not even independent anymore.
Okay. What do you think?
Documentaries are getting bigger than ever. YouTube is crushing television and cinema. Cinema, by the way, is slop for pigs.
It is. I agree with that.
We already have a movement going away from this bottom of the barrel slop for hogs. Hogs who oh, well, it's the profit motive. I'm just going to go with it. Obviously, I have to have the director's financial stability in mind. Let them die. Let them die for.
I'm just imagining the other cars looking into your car, like you're in
just
having like
screaming.
a schizo rant at your phone, right?
Yeah, I guess it's like. I guess it's kind of like a pretty.
Stop!
I think it's pretty like gloom, kind of like a pretty gloom way of like thinking about it, right? Where if the conditions are on the consumer, that would suggest that you're going like before we can even reach this, it's going to require some type of like not only cultural but social and economic and political revolution. Do you think that's probably what needs to be done, Star?
Sorry,
probably. Yeah, I mean, Tuna called me a sex worker because I said I had posed for a calendar shoot one time, and I'm fully clothed in a bikini, but yet he confused.
That's sex work.
Sexy
That's
or,
sex
no,
work.
it's not. No, it's not.
That's
No, it's not. No, it's not.
That's sex work.
No,
okay, wait.
Okay,
Can
so
I answer? Can I answer the question? Let me answer the
all
question.
Budweiser
Yeah.
commercials is sex work.
Hold on, all of you stop. Because you screaming it's sex work and you screaming no, it's not. Let's get some actual dialogue here.
What?
Why is it sex work, Tuna? And then you can tell us why it's not.
No, you know
also,
why
what's
it's
wrong with
sex work.
sex work?
It's not a catalog where we're selling the fucking bathing suit. Even that half the time is fucking sex work. It's specifically, do you want to see a woman in a bathing suit? Buy our calendar.
Yeah, it's literally the epitome of sex sells, and then you say it's not sex work. I kind of agree. It's on the spectrum of it. It's nowhere close to having sex for money, but I mean,
it's marketing.
The reason people would call it not sex work is because they think sex work is dirty.
Yeah, kind of.
No, I mean,
oh my goodness, all right.
I'd like to. I'm just gonna say
hold on,
this,
no,
and I'd like to answer your question.
Hold on,
though.
no, stop, please. Everyone knows I have a running gag, if you will, on my stream that if you give me $50, I'll take off my shirt. Is that sex work?
That's literally sex work.
It is sex. Well, it's a mix of two things. One, it's sex work, and it's also tricks for treats. It's a humiliation gag.
Oh, you probably think the boogeyman is behind every shadow too.
No, I'm not a paranoid.
This is a bad
I'm just a
thing.
person that knows when a woman being stripped is for sex appeal.
Wick, I think it's reasonable to say that you saying that if I get some type of monetary compensation, I will do this to my body is kind of dicey.
Yeah,
and I think in the same vein to Starnova, maybe a softer way of looking at this is, would you have done that if the monetary compensation was at or greater than what you received?
It's called modeling. That has nothing to do with it. It's called modeling.
I'm asking you a question. I'm asking you a question. Like, if you had substance in your life where you didn't have to worry about money, you didn't have to worry about your health, you didn't have to worry about your material needs, would you still model?
Yeah, I would have. Yeah, absolutely.
Even if there's zero profit margin. So I'm saying that we completely detach from a society where monetary value is attached to these things. You would still model?
What's the motive?
Because I was
the alternative motive. What's the motive?
To like feel validated and like think you're.
Is it for attention?
Right?
Are you?
I'm not. Listen, I'm not trying to like start over. I want to make something so clear. I am not trying. Listen, I understand.
Oh no, I don't think you're doing that. I think the so-called virtue signaling Puritan down there is, which you're gonna try and tell me. Doing some modeling and acting and being a professional dancer and musician makes me a whore.
No, no. It just sounded like you're putting a negative spin on it, Tuna, initially. But I know you're not. But not everyone gets that. But
yeah, I guess
can I go back and answer? Can I go back and answer Joe's question, if you don't mind?
I don't even know what I asked. What was it?
I mean, you were basically saying like, would we need some kind of revolution to essentially like change how we okay? Yeah. So basically, my thing is yes, I think so. But here's the because just as an example, and to bring back Soy Pill's argument from earlier, right? The slop that Disney puts out, all the fucking live action films. You actually can't say that nobody's pushing back on it. As soon as a new movie is released, Like the next day, I didn't even know that Lilo and Stitch had been re-released. I just saw my entire YouTube page filled up with Lilo and Stitch is bad. The remake was dog shit. Blah 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 blah. And it's
Right.
people who
I didn't say
are
no one's pushing back. I'm
No,
saying
no, no, hold
more
on.
people
Yeah.
should push back.
No. I understand. Like, I guess my point is that these people are making, and these are some of these channels that are pretty big, and I've watched them for years, so on and so forth. I'm sure Big Joel will put out a video, Shafrilla's Productions, all that shit. Yeah, that's great, and that's fine. But all of those views and even those channels are completely dwarfed by all of the people who go and watch it regardless, because of nostalgia, because they're caught up, like they're Disney adults or they're caught up by Disney, whatever, right? So, like, there's nothing. I don't see anything really that can change that specific part of it, right? Like consumers.
I don't
Consumers are just
understand.
gonna
Like, are you saying there's no way to shift market demand for things
No,
by
I
having
think
enough
there
people
is.
react negatively to it? Like,
No.
there
I
is a
think
huge
Negative
Disney monster.
reaction is just like
No, I
okay.
think
So
I do need to read a couple more super chats. Thank you for the super chats. We got one from TL1524 for $5 to say, funny to watch a party of sex work is real work complain about a game character who dresses too sexy. Soy's just mad that he just sucks at Soul games. Thank you.
I'm not mad. I
$5.
actually do suck at Soul games though, so he's not wrong.
And then $5 more
So do I.
from Xerxes from Bass FC. And Xerxes, you know
Hey.
what? Fuck it. If you want on,
Oh
come
no!
on
Oh
in.
no!
Xerxes, we love you, Xerxes.
I just got
Uh,
remonetized.
Let's be real. It's kind of goofy to say bikini modeling is sex work. That's really stretching the definition. Are yoga pants sex coded now too?
I mean, they are
Laughing emoji?
They are
not intentionally, but
just to answer that. I mean, I don't
I
know.
mean,
I don't know if I would call.
But do you disagree with that though?
No, like let's just
that yoga
engage with
pants are
that
sex-coded?
practically, right? Like yoga pants are essentially a tool to make a particular task easier for the participants. That's what it is at its core. When it gets to the public of that, because when it engages with things like patriarchy, misogyny, etc., then you run into that problem where it's like, yeah, go for it. Star, what's up?
Yoga pants actually came from dance wear for dancers, Broadway. I did that stuff.
Yeah.
So before yoga pants was like a huge thing and you see everybody and their twin brother wearing them, that's where it started from. It wasn't like meant to be like some major, a culture changing thing,
Sure. I mean, that's why I said it was a tool to make a specific activity easier. That specific activity, I guess you're trying to, I don't know
Movement.
what it's engaging with, but like, I don't know what you said is how it's engaging with what I said, but I think maybe you're speaking more broadly.
But I think
more broadly.
No, but I think the issue is that you can. I wouldn't. So, for example, I wouldn't go so far as to say that what you're doing specifically is like sex work in the same way that other sex work is, but it is using sexual elements to sell the calendar, right? Like it's not like you're.
Well, you guys are going through the culture now, which is like this Puritan, virtue signaling, very feminist driven kind of narrative. I'm not a feminist.
How old are you?
Hold on. No one's saying
I'm in
it's
my 30s.
bad.
What business?
No.
is it?
I'm not saying it's bad either.
No, not you. This
It's
guy
not-
asked me how old I was.
Yeah.
No, most of us are in our 30s. What do you mean? You're going
Yeah,
through this
we got
culture
grown
right
ass
now,
adults
guy.
going on these things. I don't know.
I'm
I guess like Star.
Well, I meant
maybe
her because she seems like she's like 25. I don't mean anything bad. I'm just making
damn good for
pejorative.
you. Good for you.
To
Good
be
for you, Ice Beans.
I'm
Take the
30,
flowers.
I'm 34.
Take the
And
flowers. And run.
when I was growing up, there was a period of time where for example, my mom wouldn't let me wear yoga pants unless I was wearing a shirt that went past my butt, right? And that had more to do with being a teenager stuff or whatever. But going off of that though, I can see that like there is something there to like your butt being outlined and stuff like that. And so that does. It's just that now in this current day and age, yoga pants are now considered pants in the sense that I could go and not get like gawked at necessarily Now, if I
No,
were to
you
go
will
back
get
to
gawked
my
at. Let's not kid ourselves. You will.
yeah, well, I'll be gawked
Sorry.
at, but not in the same way, right? Not in the
Specifically
same
you.
way. Okay, look, if I went back to my native country dress, like the way I'm dressed right now,
Howdy.
I've literally
you wouldn't
gotten
be.
no, I've literally gotten
Yeah.
I've gotten the grandmas moving their daughter away from me in the grocery store
Yeah.
so that
Yeah,
they don't see me,
Sure.
right? And
Yeah.
Well-
I guess that's what I mean is that like these
There's-
it's
yeah,
like
because
hints to
There's two
that.
things happening
appropriate.
at the same
Yeah.
time, and before I guess this panel's about to go really sideways. I can already tell by the avatars. So I want to get this out of the way. I want to ask this question for
no,
Star.
he's harmless.
That way we can get this out of the way. So Star, right?
Yes,
If this entire group of people's material conditions are met, we're going to say financially, socially, politically, economically, all of these things, would they still do that activity? I'm just going to run through some professions. You ready?
Okay.
Oh,
No.
Let me ask
Lawn
you one
mower.
question though. How can I speak for other people?
I'm
Like, I
just
can't-
saying, like,
To be
I'm
fair,
saying, based on the
people, you
profession,
know?
would you reasonably assume that they would stop? Generally speaking, that's all.
All right, let's do
Okay,
it.
sure. It depends
All right.
though.
Sure, landscapers.
stop.
I mean, that's a lot of hard work. I mean, if you got the money, you don't have to do it anymore, obviously. But it's a good profession.
Okay, plumbers.
Quit.
Necessary.
Wait,
But
strippers?
I guess they would quit. I don't know. You want me to answer
Quit.
stuff for other people?
Right. So I'm just going through different professions, and I'll say like the one I said before, because of internet and stuff. I said strippers.
Oh,
Quit.
I would hope they would quit, but
Why?
because I've known strippers. They start off normal. They start off not addicted to drugs and doing things that they would regret, and then once they get into it, that's the road they head down usually.
So they would.
Mad.
So they would stop
Yeah.
because they're heading down to drugs and substance abuse.
Well, also prostitution. Most strippers are
Why
also
are they
prostitutes
taking the
themselves.
drugs? Why are they taking the drugs?
Because
Put up with the
it's like being a rock star, man. Like drugs.
Well, that's why I
clean.
presupposed.
It's accessible, huh?
Well, that's why.
Yeah.
That's why I presuppose that all of their material conditions could be met. So, like, let's say they do want some type of controlled substance, they have access to that, and they have access to
Yeah,
food,
well,
shelter, all
Joe,
these things.
Joe, you're
I
missing the
would
fact that
hope so, but hey,
very commonly, the reason that these hookers, prostitutes, strippers, like the common factor of on the street sex workers, which by the way is not the only, which is why she's going to try and weasel out of this. The reason they're taking drugs is because they're getting raped, they're getting groped, they're getting battered, they're getting chased, they're not getting paid enough, their life sucks, they hate themselves, nobody loves them. Like there is a slow decline into absolute individualism, right? And the way that they numb it out is drugs.
So the angle that I was trying to go to was not that. I guess I believe that there are people who do certain aspects of labor and do it by virtue of the labor itself. I think I can point to teachers, certain aspects of landscapers, in particular carpenters, farmers. I think some professions do this because they understand that these things have a greater good for society. And I'm not quite convinced that if the material conditions were met for all people, you would have things like sex work and strippers. I'm not quite convinced that profession would still exist in the landscape I'm describing.
Here, I can just grant you that a lot of strippers would no longer be strippers. That's fair, right? But there are some who absolutely would. They'd be like,
Yes,
yeah, I just like
I was
it.
gonna say
I
that.
like the attention.
Yeah.
How do you tell the difference
wouldn't-
between a stripper that does it because they like stripping and a stripper that does it because they like the money? What's that
I
difference?
don't know.
I mean, you asked the same question you asked Nova
Joe.
already, which was if you were a millionaire and you didn't need money, would you still do your calendar thing? And she said, yeah, because
said yes.
she liked the gratification from it. It's not about, oh, I'm providing a service necessarily. It's just, I like this. And so clearly some people might do the same thing, right?
And
guess-
I would need to
gratification.
perform
Sorry, I didn't
further
mean to put that word in your mouth. Sorry.
examination
It's okay.
on the subject in order to find out whether they like it or not.
What would that
No, but
examination
I
look
guess-
like?
Send it over to our trippy over here.
I
I'm just
listen.
playing around.
I
Send him the calendar.
I'm
If
just
it's
playing
not
around.
sex work, if it's not sexually explicit, if it's not something that inside of the thing that you did, you recognize that it is for the sexual elation of another, send it to Trippy.
I mean, it's a case by
Have
case
you ever
basis,
watched
right?
John LaJoy, Tuna? Do you
Have
know
I
who
ever
that
watched
is?
what?
John LaJoy?
John LaJoy.
John LaJoy. Have you ever
I
seen
just heard a
any of his
disembodied
YouTube
voice.
stuff?
I have no idea where that came from.
It's
The
this
clown guy.
clown. No offense to you,
My
Trippy.
mouth
No, I
moves
don't
when
know
I
what it is.
speak. Oh,
Don't know what
okay.
it is.
No, it was like
That's
super
fine, I was
soft.
just wondering.
I don't know. Whoever spoke, their mic
yeah,
was mad
I
soft.
understand.
But
turn yourself
I
up
do want to
just a little
ask.
bit.
So I'm kind of curious to ask like Tuna
Do you have
Chip
a
a couple
camera?
questions.
Pass? Also,
Me?
if you don't
Of
have
course
a
I have
camera
a
on, please
camera,
turn your
but
camera
I'm
on. Yeah.
fine.
Oh,
then.
I know this
I'm
black
not-
guy.
I'm not
Yeah, turn the camera off,
decent.
then.
Oh, he lights up when
I
he
know
talks.
this
I'm
voice.
not decent. I'm no. The lighting is terrible.
Who
Give me a
cares?
sec.
He's only
Look
charged
at
from the
Tuna. Who
stuff.
cares?
Yeah,
gonna
Tuna's
look like
literally in a
camera.
quiet
Our
zone.
feed is
The thing
being
is,
radio
that's true. He is in a
conversation.
But listen, the thing that is kind of peculiar to me is how far this goes when we look at things that are sexualized, right? Because the reason why I asked about yoga pants is because if a lady were to put on yoga pants, that's more or less the silhouette of her naked body, right? If that be the case, then it's like, well, like, is she acting sexually because she's wearing yoga pants?
Where do you think this idea that she's acting sexually or even presents himself sexually comes from, you think?
I want to answer the question,
That's a good
Joe, and then we
question.
can go down that line.
That's a real question. I'm asking genuinely, like, where
I
do you
would-
think
no,
this
yeah,
idea
it would-
I want to answer his question. We're going to do first in, first out. You cool with that?
I have no idea what that means. That sounds like a sex act.
Well, he means he wants to speak first, and then you can say something.
Gotcha.
Yes.
Oh, I see.
Well, so we don't-
Click your
straightforward,
whole
man.
dish,
Expand the
chill.
scope.
Yeah, click your whole
Expand the
dish, chill.
scope. Okay. It is obviously context born. If a person is in the gym, it is very likely that they are wearing it because we know the amount of sweating. You need something elastic. You want something that doesn't build up the water such that it takes on
Right.
weight. That's the
But if they
context
came
of-
on stream with yoga pants,
Yeah.
But we know right
Maybe.
now that if you go to Pornhub.com and you type yoga pants into the search bar, you will find people that have explicitly put on yoga pants for sexual elation. And we know that the reason they have, not only because they've tagged it, but because everything that they are cultivating in that video is
But
for
what if the
sexual
lady
elation.
went to the grocery store? Could we say she's displaying herself sexually there?
Just
Different
wearing
context. She's on
pants.
the gym
Right.
now.
She's
So
just
now
wearing
it's just
pants.
wearing.
Don't be a
So, but that's what I'm
fucking
saying, right?
pervert.
So
We're
when
gonna have
you
to-
say that
let's-
that's
How about
being
that shit?
perverted, but if she
can
models
look
for a
up-
calendar, you easily say that that's sex work. But then, like,
Yes,
why would
exactly.
you then be
Because-
just like, well, it's just pants here, but
Tuna,
here
you can-
modeling is sex work?
You
I
can
don't
go on the
understand
same
But why is
how
website
the
we
and
woman
look
jump
up
wearing a-
there.
woman
Why is
dressed
the
like
woman in a-
grandmother.
Why is the woman in a
you'll
bathing
get
suit
videos.
instead of a wheelchair?
And I know you
If we're
know.
just trying
You
to
can be
like
in a bathing
get
suit in the
people to
wheelchair.
fund
though.
money.
A question.
go ahead.
Are you like offended by everything on a woman? Like, what's the problem here?
I have no
Tuna never
offense.
found
I
it
just
to be
recognize
He's not
what
that
is.
type of guy.
I mean,
I
Kinda sounds like you
recognize
might be
what
a
is
Muslim.
and is not porn star,
he's
and I'm
doing the
pro porn
praxis.
and I'm pro whore.
No,
Are
this
you
is
okay
not a
with
winning
women showing
point,
their
Tuna.
ankle?
No.
Like, but you're starting to remind. Like, I'm a preacher's daughter, dude. You're starting to remind me of some of those got to have your hair up in a wob naughty and all the way down to here and your skirt all the way
Ironically,
down to your,
I'm
like, what do you
Does your
want?
father
that
feel about the
than Tuna is.
calendar?
Or something?
Here's the irony. The irony stars. I'm closer to that than Tuna is, right? I've actually conversated and debated with him. But the
Yeah.
thing that's just interesting to me is why we don't just go the full extra mile then, right? Like if we understand that a woman is
Sharia.
displaying herself sexually
Sharia law.
when she's wearing short gym shorts or when she's wearing yoga pants, why don't we say that she's displaying herself sexually? But we then understand for this magazine that isn't sexual, actually, isn't her in a bikini. Then we say that that's sex work.
Hold
How do
on.
we go?
Well,
How
it
do
wasn't
we
a magazine.
introduce that?
Hey, Star,
It
Star,
wasn't
real
a
quick,
magazine.
before
Please,
It was a
Star,
Star,
calendar.
before you're
It was a calendar.
misrepresented.
Yes.
please, Xerxes, you understand that the bikini model calendar is meant to be sexy.
Sure, but how is that sex work?
Because it is a person
I don't agree it's
doing
sex work,
work.
but it
Yeah,
is
exactly what I'm
sexy.
saying. I don't
It's
agree
meant
it's
to be
sex work
sexy.
either. Here's the thing:
Don't
yoga
make
pants
a
are sexy,
non-sexual bikini
but
calendar.
but
This
is that
total
sex work? You
semantics,
see what
and
I'm
I'd
saying?
like to get back to video games if we
and
can.
what's-
'cause
Yeah,
that's-
I'll be
Star, Star.
There's a lot of
He's
people
Star,
being
wanting
real
it.
quick,
There's a lot of
quick,
people
so
wanting it.
fast.
There's a lot of people wanting it.
Promise this is
I
fast.
I want to give. Hold on. I want to give the mic to CPCA. They've been wanting to get in for a little bit.
What?
If you have a camera, please turn it on. But otherwise,
Strange
go ahead.
abbreviation.
CPCA,
The
please.
CP
There's
certification
been
agency.
another person in this call this entire time.
Yeah.
Yes.
There have been
Oh, what
several
the
people.
fuck?
And his
Oh,
camera, then he turned
He's
it off.
spoken a few times.
Oh
Okay, go
man, I'm
ahead.
so panel dry now. You guys are making. I
Okay,
miss
then
Wick
I
chat
have a
already.
simple
I mean, I could have
question.
replied with,
What
"I can
would
make
be
you
the
wet," but
difference
don't know if this is
between
the place.
Hold on.
Shut. That's not your real voice, dog.
Hold on,
Ain't
everyone,
no
let
shot at your
CPCA.
real voice.
No one can hear say CPCA. I'm just
Maybe
going
you
to
should
call
have
you
invited
emergency.
8 people on your
I'll call you
4-person
emergency,
panel.
emergency.
That's his real voice. There's no way that's your
Hold on,
real
no,
voice.
let him talk.
Shut
Let
up.
her talk. I'm not sure actually. Go ahead.
Okay, I just wanted to ask, basically, what the difference would be between like someone who's doing a thirst trap, and one who would be doing like a bikini calendar, and I wanted to see where the line would split essentially.
Hold on, just real quick. CPCA, how old are you?
I'm 19.
Okay, good. Just wanted to make sure you were over 18.
Yeah, an adult.
I thought his voice was like
47.
10 octaves deeper, but I confused him with another user.
I'm sorry,
I don't
my
see it different.
microphone
I
sounds
don't think you can parse out the difference in everyday life. I think that's the problem but there's like something else in there that I kind of want to parse out a little bit. Star, you
Yes.
come off as a secular individual. Is that a correct read?
I'm not a secular individual, actually.
Okay. So when I say secular, what does that mean to you?
Like a very amoral, non-Christian. I'm good with anything goes. I'm not.
Oh no, I'm just wondering.
None of
So
those
are you
things.
somebody who follows a faith?
I am. Yes. Hmm.
So your moral and ethics are built upon your religion, or are they built on other
Yes.
things?
Well, why is this a lead into if I have this religion? Why am I doing this over here? Is that where this is going? Where
I
is
am
this
not a
going?
member of the Nation of Islam. You are fine. Well,
Hey.
you're fine in that regard.
Nice
Well,
way to
because
put
like
that.
someone mentioned Sharia, and I don't know, we were trying to be yikes, but in America, it's really interesting how I'm speaking specifically in terms of Americans, and maybe like Canadians probably have this problem too, where they're kind of like deeply indoctrinated in like Christian theology and Christian morals and ethics. And then when it finally makes it into public, they don't really kind of understand like why they feel these certain ways. For instance, right? Like who is determining what is too sexual? Who is determining what is too revealing, right? And a lot of times what I've noticed is that there's like this unreflective theological indoctrination that's going on. So what that can look like in practice is like somebody just like saying like, oh, like you ought to like not show X, Y, or Z thing about your body. And then you go, well, why? And it's like, well, just because you shouldn't do that. And it's like, well, hang on, like, where did you
recenter this about video games? The idea is not we can't do this or we shouldn't do this. The idea is certain ways of sexualization are sacrificing good writing. They're sacrificing good games. Whereas you can put sex in a game. You can put full-on frontal, total nudity sex in a game, and it can still be very good, like in Baldur's Gate, versus, hey, I'm going to center the main character's ass. It's going to take up a third of the screen just to appeal to gooners. The problem we have with that is not the fact that it's sexy. We're not saying, oh, cover her up, put a burqa on her. It's specifically about the idea that this is so dumb and clearly like only there to be gooner bait, and it is not about like anything in the game that makes sense. It is just
Hold on, can I ask you a question?
What was
is
the
it possible
question,
for
sir?
Well, he made a point, but I'm kind of curious now. Like, is it possible for a sexy lady to be a complex, interesting character?
Yes, absolutely.
It is.
Who's determining?
And what's wrong with the sexiness then?
It's not.
Let's say it is
right
gooner
here.
bait, but she's a great character. What's
because
wrong with
the gooner bait is cringe. It makes it more pornographic.
Well,
rather
that's
than
It
just,
might be
I'm attracted to
cringe,
this
Soy,
character.
but you have to understand that video games are escapism. They're for doing
Speaking of
things and
cringe,
seeing things that you wouldn't
turn on your
normally in
camera,
real life.
But
So
my
if those people
my
want to play
problem.
those games, you should just let them. Like, what the fuck
Well,
is
it's not
the
even
problem?
it's
Why
not
would
even
we have
just
to
to just let
complain
them,
about it?
because
Trippy,
I don't think to
I'm
just let
just
them is a
gonna-
good argument. But I think that what's
Trippy, you don't
interesting.
do that with crack cocaine. You don't do that with meth.
And he's right. Yeah, he's
I
right.
say
No,
if they want
but
to do crack cocaine, let them.
Huda,
Well,
you're
thanks, then.
now you're
but I would agree
equating
with that argument.
you're equating porn to crack cocaine.
Yes.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
Okay, that's
Yes.
just
So
silly.
what? So
But
like,
that's a comparison. Yes, that's
it's a comparison,
silly
but just
comparison.
comparing the two just by comparing pornography to cocaine doesn't mean anything unless you substantiate what good and what bad is. So what
the point
is
is that
I've
you would
already-
not accept
Joe?
someone to just do a thing, right? You would challenge them if you think it's bad. That's his point.
what?
Joe,
Oh my
I
God,
know-
I'm about to get mad, but maybe Tuna can
Joe?
help.
Okay. It's
I'm ready.
very. You didn't get the part earlier, so I think that you might be missing the most explicit version of the take that I'm on, which is that I think the reason that these very specific depictions of sexuality in games are a problem is not because they are sex, but because they are specifically not sex. They are the desexing of sexual stimulus. They are all about masturbating. They are all about the individual experience. They are all about creating a personal sexuality which is not conforming to the outside world, which is bad for you. So in the same way that crack cocaine gives you stimulus that makes you want to separate yourself from the world, the same thing is true with this pornography.
And those games are very much more popular.
Can I posit an idea about safety then?
Please, Joe. Please, Joe. Please. I know there's a lot of people here, and we're getting lost in the sauce here. And I know that Soy Pill asked a question to, I believe, Nova. Could you ask that again? Or could you make your point again? Nova was trying to
I got lost as to what Joe was asking me, and then
Joe.
Soy answered. So, like, what are you asking me, honey? Are you asking me like who's in control of all the marketing? Obviously, it's up to the media and how far that they can push the limits, because there's nudity clauses and stuff that they can't do in American television. Same thing, not the same thing as that's in the EU. How far that they can take things. So what were you asking me specifically?
Oh no, the affirmative claim that I was going to make is that, especially in the United States, we are deeply entrenched in, you could say, a far right, but I'd say like a general soft right Christian theology, where it's embedded in society so much that we adopt sort of Christian frameworks, whether it be Christian or otherwise, in determining what is good and what is bad. And then what's happening is that's also interacting with how like we consume media and stuff like that. Like, I think in a lot of ways the Christian theists kind of won insofar as they've got so far where they determine, like, we as casuals in society already have an idea of like what is and is not over sexualized, what is sexy, what is attractive, and then even like anything that challenges that is considered just like taboo or something you ought not to do. There's plenty of examples of this, but
it used to be kind of normal to just see somebody attractive in a bikini or whatever, right? As far as marketing goes, if you're a model and you're going to be showcasing makeup or clothes, they're obviously going to pick somebody who fits the idealization of what look they want to present. Okay, so I don't think that. I think we are far more polarizing and more taboo today than obviously we were 20 years ago in the marketing world. You can't disagree that it's not like sex is everywhere. So if Tuna is saying that we're over sexualized, I would agree with that. But I don't really understand what he's complaining about.
Well, I mean, that's a reflection of society, like, and that's why, like, for me, I'm really interested in like kind of understanding what people believe is good and what people believe is bad. I think a lot of people have like very unthoughtful reflections of what makes something good and what makes something bad, including things like sex. So when there are these sort of conversations of like, well, I just want my game to be good, and it's like, okay, so attractive women can't be in good games. Well, it's not that. And it's like, okay, well then what is good?
Right.
And I think what tends to happen is for some people in their argumentation,
Joe, because you weren't at the beginning of the conversation, but the reason I brought up Quiet from Metal Gear Solid as an example was not because she's attractive and attractive women in games are bad, but because the point of her character in that game is to be pornographically attractive. It's like, hey, she's almost naked. She walks around with a bikini where she's just barely covering her nipples. When she's in the helicopter with you, she's presenting her ass to you and shaking it around just for no really good reason in the game other than Kojima wanted a hot character to be in the game that he wants girls to cosplay as, right? And when I'm playing that game, regardless of how much I enjoy the story, regardless of how much I enjoy the mechanics, regardless of any of that, that takes me out of the game because I realize I'm not playing a game right now where I'm involved in the story.
And exactly my question is,
this is all subjective, obviously. I'm saying this is stuff that ruins my suspension of disbelief in this world. So that's my problem with it.
So,
I think it should be better integrated if you're going to put hot people in.
Okay, so all right, so I really need you to parse this out, Soy, because you keep dodging this question. What makes you are, but let's just ask the question plainly. In your eyes, what makes a game good?
just anything. I mean, the gameplay
What makes
mechanics,
a
the
game
story,
good?
whether
So
or not like it has why is Tuna having an aneurysm because I said that? Like this is kind of irrelevant, right?
No, it's
Why are
not.
you trying to reel you in like a
Why are
fish?
you hanging yourself? Okay, look.
What
no,
makes
never
a
mind.
good
Like,
game
I
I'm
hanging
my
good?
This is the stupidest question I've ever heard in my entire fucking life. What makes
What?
a game
It's-
good?
Yes, what makes a
abstracting
game
to a
good?
level of
No,
dribble.
if it's fun
And
and
you
it
can't
hits like
To be
explain
fair,
why it's
yeah.
not
And
a
if you
good
can't,
question either.
Tuna,
if you
just
can't,
It's so broad.
But I
It's
could
such
it's
talk
a
not
about
broad
broad.
this for
question.
hours.
It's
It is
absolutely not
I could
broad.
talk
So
about this
when
for
you say
hours.
good, do you mean quality or morally good? Right, those are two different things.
No,
right?
he's
I'm
talking
saying
about quality.
obviously, right?
Okay, so
Yeah,
but
I'm
that's a
talking
little
about
bit
the
more
quality of the
complex
game.
than that, though, right? Because we could talk about Golden Sun, Pokemon Silver. Like we could do that, but it's like, do we
I'm just
agree on the
asking-
actual
holy
objective standards?
Joe, my
Like,
answer
But,
is
what
the
makes
question is
Joe.
too complex. We literally
It's
have
not too
channels of
complex.
games
It's
where they
incredibly
talk about
simple.
games for hours. But
Joe,
they
It's
just say
incredibly
what
simple.
makes it good.
He can
Or-
just
or-
answer it.
Joe,
I
Let's help
promise
here.
you,
This is
he
literally
can just
help.
answer it. He can just
I
answer
would
it for himself.
answer it, but I could talk about this for hours. What do you think makes a game good in 20
He's
words? or
right.
less?
Yeah, exactly. Like,
Do you like action
would
games?
soy on
Do
this
you
one.
like driving
Okay, so
games?
what makes a game
Yeah.
good for you? It's
Right. I
Just-
like
you can just
components,
answer it.
What I
like
wanna
performance,
know.
like
You can just
writing,
answer
I
it.
like
It's-
sound design. I like all sorts of things in games, especially if the core gameplay is fun and there can be hot people in that game and it can still be amazing.
I'm not talking about hot people. We're just talking about games
Well,
first.
that's what
We'll
the
get to that in a
panel's
second.
about. That's why it's a very weird
Yes,
question.
there's two
Kinda.
parts to this question. That's why I'm asking this one
Also,
first.
parts to your camera.
God damn. I set
Well,
this
that's
up.
actually true too.
Joe,
I set this
Can I-
up frantic.
an
No,
example.
wait,
An
Tuna,
example.
let the
Joe,
man ask
fine.
his two
Let
questions.
me
Let
cook,
us ask his two.
goddamn.
Let him ask his two
Yeah.
questions so that they
I
can
want to
be
get
over.
Trippy in here next. I'm
Agreed.
gonna
This is
get
the health
Trippy
inspector,
in here
bro.
next.
Your kitchen's
Hold
full
on.
of rats.
Hold on, just real quick. If you want to kick, hold on. If you want to kick people, you can. But it's gonna be $20 minimum, so that's
Okay.
$10 more.
Wow, even Sarah only charges
Let the
$5.
man
Man,
talk.
right?
Yeah,
Yeah,
I'm
that's
I'm a
not
little
cooked
more
out.
high class, so you know.
Kiss him in the belly too. I'm a poke him. Poke.
Jeez.
Ooh.
Joe, finish your question, and then we'll go.
Is your confliction this? When a game conflicts with my moral framework on what is good and just for society, are you against that in games?
No, absolutely not. And my moral framework doesn't say putting a over-sexualized character in is bad morally. I don't even think it's bad morally. I don't think porn is immoral. I think it's detracting from what would otherwise be a better game, a more quality game that has a more consistent tone that is not injecting porn in places it doesn't need to.
So when games present moral frameworks and ideas that you are against, it doesn't necessarily affect the game per se, but it affects your desire to play it. Is that a correct assessment of your
Right.
judgment?
And just to give
A
it
Holy
jiggly
shit.
ass
Make sure
is
this is
certainly a moral
God damn.
framework.
just to give it
A
example of
jiggling
this, I'm
ass
not
is a
sure-
moral framework to Joe. I'm just saying.
You know, let me
It's not.
No,
It's not.
no,
What
Joe.
exactly is the
This is-
complaint?
Wait,
is
let
what I
me
wanna know.
let me try.
Here.
Let me try to steal man this.
discussion.
Okay,
can I just give an
Joe.
example to make this like super clear?
No, it's
Go-
cool. I'm sure. Go for it.
go
for
ahead,
it.
but then I'm gonna follow it up with my own example.
I'm a game
Sure.
developer. I'm making a game about killing demons, right? And this is, by the way, I'm going to use like a Bayonetta adjacent analogy, right? But this isn't exactly. It's okay. This character's going to go in and kill demons. It's a story about saving the world from this an oncoming demon incursion, right? It's like, okay, that is a world that I can inject myself in and enjoy. And then at the very end, he says, and you know what? The main mechanic of this game is whenever you use your powers, your character gets more undressed. She gets more naked the more powerful you are. As a player of that game, I would say, no, this isn't immoral. This isn't like a sin against God, but it's very out of place. It's very fucking weird. It makes me feel uncomfortable that I'm playing this game that should be an enjoyable game about killing demons. And now I'm like, okay, but there's this like pornographic element to it. Like, what the fuck? This is clearly just meant to market to people who are horny for the main character. I think that sucks. I think it's not in place.
I think that is a projection you're casting onto the game.
You're projecting a moral. You're casting a moral judgment.
as well.
and
No,
then
no, no, no,
acting
no,
like
wait,
it's
hold on,
not
wait.
moral.
Hold on,
Wait,
we're gonna have to order in this.
Wait,
order.
Reality
I
is
said I
subjective.
was
Hold on,
next.
everyone
Everyone who isn't talking, please.
Let the woman
I'm gonna
speak.
mute
Reality
everyone.
is quite
I'm
subjective.
gonna mute everyone until they stop talking. Okay, everyone, stop. We're gonna go one at a time. I know you all want to get in here, but my God, we need order in this court so we can have an actual conversation. I want to give it to Ice Beans, but I know Trippy's been trying to get in, and I want to give it to Trippy exactly after Ice Beans. So after Ice Beans go, then we're gonna give it straight to Trippy, and then we're gonna give it to Xerxes, and that's the order we're gonna go in. Go ahead,
Okay.
please.
Okay. basically, what Soypill is like, what he has a problem with is the exact same problem that I have with the Wilhelm scream. I know it's an iconic piece of fucking history or whatever, but every single time I hear it in a movie, it just takes me out of whatever zone I was in, and it makes me think, okay, oh, there was a Wilhelm scream. Didn't need to be used. I don't give a shit. I don't give a shit that it's iconic, right?
Now you're thinking that you're watching a movie, right? It's like, wait a minute. This is actually kind of hurt the integrity of this film because now my suspension of disbelief is ruined. I just recognized a voice clip from a 1920s Western.
So basically, you want to protect your immersion, is what the two of you are saying.
No,
you
it's not an immersion because here's where I disagree, because I disagree with Soypill in the sense that, like, for me, the Wilhelm scream, I bitch and moan about it in the moment, but then I move on, right? I'm not actually going to boycott the fucking movie because they use it. I'm probably going to give the movie more shit if I hear more than one Wilhelm scream
at all times for the entirety of the game.
I mean, I just think, I'm pro Tiddy in the sense that, like, for me, the Wilhelm scream, if it got bad enough, or if it was just like an issue that I actually cared about, I would just not watch that movie, right?
Right, but now we're back to the market analogy, and I'm going to say, if the Wilhelm scream plays every other voice line in the movie, it's probably dog shit. And if that movie made $500 million at the box office, I'm going to try to get as many people as I can to say this is bad, and I'm going to explain why. I'm going to make sure we never make anything like it again.
Yeah, but here's my problem.
Argument, but
hold on. Before everyone jumps in, I did give the mic to Trippy.
That's true.
Trippy's got to get a chance to play speak. Go ahead, Trippy.
Oh. What are we talking about? No,
if you're just here for eye candy, we're gonna move you because you're not as eye candy as some of the others.
I'm just messing around. Look, if there's a sexualized character in a video game, it's just like the arguments back in the day about comic book characters and women shouldn't be so scantily clad in comic books. Dude, there are literally animes that are based on women getting stronger as they lose clothing. Like, come on. This is more of a Japanese thing than an American thing in that same exact fashion that you're talking about.
I'm glad you got this guy on who's just like 17 steps behind in the conversation from Sarah's panel. This is so much more fun now.
Anyways, you never have a fucking argument to make other than something that's the
problem. We're on the sixth cock.
Huh?
Okay,
You're looking the first pair of balls.
Someone likes to argue hypotheticals
I don't think you want to
constantly.
talk about cocks right now, okay?
Soy likes to argue the hypotheticals all the time, but if you actually bring reality to the guy, he has no idea what to say except for "you're stupid, you're stupid." I know how you argue.
Literally like an anthropological phenomenon of like.
You could have said that in 4 words instead of 27.
I mean, like I kind of get what you were saying, right? Where there's certain like aspects of media that subvert your immersion within it. Sometimes that immersion can be a good thing. Like that like pulling out of that immersive experience, that can be effective. But the difference that I'm trying to understand is that it sounds like Soypill is making sort of moral claims around these things without fully standing,
without fully biting the bullet, basically.
Yeah, biting the bullet, saying like
he is. You have to be fair to what he's saying. It's not immoral what he's saying. He's saying the quality or the integrity of the product is damaged when he sees these sexualized elements.
That's a moral claim. Like he's saying
it's
that
not a moral claim.
This it is.
It's a personal preference, though. To be clear, Tuna's the one making the moral argument.
I'll just ask you this way.
Before you even ask the question, because I'm pretty sure I understand that where the disconnect is. If you go on Steam right now and you look at the top sellers, and there's all these literal porn games, right? Like literal porn games where the goal is to have sex. I don't think this is immoral. I don't think there's anything wrong with that. I don't want to ban it. I don't think that we should stop making those. I just think that I don't want the elements of those games that are pornographic to start bleeding into games where it doesn't really make sense to be there. I think those are worse games. They're not consistent. It has nothing to do with morality.
So if the developers make the argument that the sex is in there for particular purposes and can substantiate that, you will have no problem with it?
There could be more ambiguous
sense,
ways where it might fit into the story, yes.
Okay, actually, real quick. I actually have a question for Soypill, real quick.
So what happens if you disagree with the developer's presentation of why it's in there?
then this is
Doesn't
the whole
matter.
debate, right? Like,
It does matter.
No,
But it
it
doesn't
actually
actually.
does matter,
to
right?
illustrate
I
As a
that
would
more.
consumer, he
Stellar
can
Blade
disagree with
call
that
this a
all the
Gooner
time.
game.
Yeah.
Many people might not call it that, but you clearly see this when people get frustrated when they cover up the like very obvious like cleavage shots that don't really make sense to have on or to wear, but are there to make an overly sexualized character. And it's just like, yeah, like people are doing this for this reason. And sometimes it's Kojima who comes out and says, I just really like putting a hot naked woman in my game. Like, sure, there's going to be disagreements, but that's the entire point of all media. You can disagree with the author's intent. We can disagree on what it really means. We can disagree on why people are buying it. That's the whole point of the conversation. Like what happens? Like, I'm not asking to live in a world where only things that I like exist. I'm just pushing back on these Gooner games because I'm like, I think these suck.
But you're
Well, okay,
asking,
real
you're
quick,
asking for
can I
people,
ask-
however,
So
to
if-
collectively
So
go
wait, are you
against. Like,
asking-
no, wait,
hold on.
He missed the part about that. I don't want him to run away from that. You want people to protest these things. You want people to protest these projects.
I'm just asking people to recognize what they're doing.
No, but you made the affirmative they ought to avoid.
A bunch of people went and bought Stellar Blade because they like the super over sexualization, right? I'm not saying that people shouldn't be able to do that. I'm not saying it's bad necessarily that there's a market for that. I'm saying I wish that we had more money put into games that weren't stupid like that. In the same way that I think
I don't think it's fair to call it stupid. That's
you guys are circling the drain, and we're going to move to a different person.
Want more people to have better taste. That's what I'm arguing.
He doesn't want to engage with that. It's fine. We can move on.
What am I not engaging?
Well, he is engaging with. He just doesn't agree.
Well, no.
We're going to circle again. Please. Oh my God,
I'm not circling. I'm just closing it out. You don't understand. You don't understand what I'm saying. You clearly don't understand what I'm saying based on how I'm projecting it.
Go ahead.
This is
What the fuck did you just say?
I promise I'm trying. I'm not running, so please try one more time.
Yeah, I'm not gonna try. I'm not gonna try anymore. I'm not trying anymore.
Hey, Wick, you got super chats, honey. You got.
I'm going to get to
got some super chats.
I'm trying to get them. Okay, yeah,
he's trying to host the show, darling.
So Pill, real quick. Do you now that you've heard? Now that you've heard.
Please. I do got to make a little money.
Okay,
so
go
we are
ahead.
going to get there, and then I'm going to get
Look,
more.
I can hear you guys. I'll be right back.
And then we're going to try not to circle the drain too much here, right? So $5 from Zim Eats Waffles to say, would the sex scene in Conker's Bad Hair Day between the sunflower and King Bee be considered porn? I have never played that game in my life.
I played the hell out of that game as a kid. It was on N64. That's
I don't know.
It's a very comedic sex scene where they have the bee and the flower like go off screen, and then you hear her reacting and him reacting, and then they go back to it. So it's like I wouldn't really say that it's like overly done or anything like that. It's not like not in your face, but you know what's going on as long as you're an adult.
You can take it out of the game, and the game doesn't change. So remove it.
Wait, the leaves of I'm just saying the petals or whatever you call it, the fucking leaves on the stem. It is worth noting that they are tits and that you do use them as a trampoline. Like
that's why it's
It's very similar to Wick taking his shirt off in that it is sex for a joke.
Sex for entertainment.
Oh my God, that was you don't have to put the man down like that. Holy shit!
Hold on, I got more. $2 from Testicle Johnson to say boobs out for Palestine. Thank you.
That's right. Now, what you could do here is you could blow Star up so she's the full camera.
Oh God!
That's why you have to get those Sarah regulars on your show, Wick.
I'm
gonna boycott Wick panels.
So if you want to talk shit, dude, you can come on my show and talk shit.
I will never talk shit.
Enough!
Anything like you are.
But if you're gonna
Star, are those good ones? I'm just very curious.
I'll hold on. No talking. No talking while I finish these super chats. Good. Go. $10 from In Pursuit of Knowledge. $10 to kick Joe and bring me in. No, we don't do that unless you pay me $20. And then $10 from Zemmy's Wassels. Did Witcher 3 win Game of the Year?
Can I respond to that because that was directly targeted towards me? Or are we just gonna let that fly?
Well, what response do you have to kick him? And what
this man, that account has had a hate boner for me for at least 3 years. He knows personal information about my life that he brings up in casual conversation. If you see that account in Pursuit of Knowledge, you got to avoid him. Like this is a call of action to people who are within streamer communities. That man is clearly not well. He donated $10 to kick me, but he's also berated me in multiple Discords, just me directly, and talks about me behind my back. And there's VODs and clips of him doing it. It's really, really bizarre. So if you engage with that person, please just avoid him.
Okay, I'm not bringing all that in here. $10 from Zims Eats Waffles to say, did Witcher 3 win Game of the Year because of the sex scenes, or did it win Game of the Year because of the story?
Won Game of the Year because of the gameplay, probably. The story was also very good, and the sex scenes in that game, to my remembrance, I haven't played it in a while, were pretty good. Like, they made sense in the game. It wasn't like, yes, like, go fuck, you fucking gooner. It was very much like a, hey, like, you've now romanced Cersei enough to sleep with her and stuff like that, but I could be misremembering.
From the guy who wants to make the little snide remarks and call people stupid, but is too afraid to actually talk.
Okay. I do want to stick on to the point and not have this turn into this little nippy back and forth. A little bit's fun, a little bit's good, but
yeah, a little bit's fun. I'm not going to
with
like
the actual
target the guy
of the day. Okay.
Sounds like some drama there.
Yeah,
no,
okay,
not really.
Drama there, but we're going to move over the drama. And
can I go back to okay, real quick, like Soypill, earlier somebody explained why the was it a sniper lady who could breathe through her skin?
Quiet.
That's Quiet.
She's like photosynthesis through her skin, and that's why she needs to remain naked.
Okay, hold on. So
she's
somebody
she's
in one of the super chats, somebody like said that it's basically like one of the given explanations. It's cool because she doesn't have to breathe, and so I guess it makes it easier for her to be a sniper. Does that change your opinion on that at all? Or
no, because it's so obviously made up after the fact to justify why he has the naked character in it, right? Like if I put a naked character in
after
instead,
the fact,
but my question is,
well, hold on, wait, I have a follow-up point to this.
You guys all
like
hold on.
Hold on.
Actually,
I want to say this.
Out.
Hold on,
Yeah.
all of you, shut up. My God, if you can't behave, I will just kick you off the panel. I have opened this up because someone canceled last minute, and so we loosened it up a little bit. Maybe I won't do that in the future if this is going to keep going like this, right? We got to keep it a little formatted, if you will. So please,
you like this? Stop.
Look, there is a time and a place. There's a time and a place, right?
Okay.
I want to hear Ice Out.
So basically, like, so you're saying it like it to you. It obviously sounds like it's a ad hoc justification. Okay. And I don't know anything about this character, but I would be inclined to agree. I think that what Joe was maybe kind of hinting at was that you're saying that now, and I'm agreeing with you. But there could be other things where you think that the sexualization is too far, where other people might just see it. Well, yeah. So I guess how do you account for that kind of thing? If you're saying, like, I mean, I understand. Are you just saying that, like,
look, I could be wrong in some
man?
of these assessments. It is just my opinion. Although I do base that opinion off of like watching lots of different types of media and seeing how people are portrayed sexually in different ways. And certain ones, it's like, okay, this makes sense in the story. This looks like it has writer's intent. Or I've literally watched like the writers at the table discuss why they made a character a certain way versus what is very clearly, obviously, like a goon thing. Like if you look at like this goes so back to like the original Metroid game, right? They didn't make her a woman because it was like, we need a strong female character. The character doesn't talk, right? The reason they made her a woman is because they thought it would be a good reward for you to beat the game quickly and then see a naked person in a bikini at the end. Because it was like, isn't this cool? Look at this naked person, right?
Okay,
you can't simultaneously be naked and in a bikini, though.
You understand the point, buddy.
Okay,
his point
was
somewhat sexualized to some degree, I guess.
Sort of my conclusion to that, though, is that, like, I do see what people are talking about when they say that you are bringing a morality into it, because it isn't just that it is your opinion that you avoid these games. You're actively saying, okay, I would like to here's what society should kind of take forward, moderate yourself,
if I had
which
to
is
choose
fine.
between
I
a
agree.
rotten apple and a tasty apple, and I say the tasty apple is better. Is it a moral choice that I'm
No,
like,
but
I
no,
like this
no, no,
one
no.
because it
It's
tastes
not a
Yeah, I don't
better?
no. It's
understand
not
why
a
you guys keep
dichotomy
doing this
like
to
this.
him.
No, it is not a. It's
Well,
it's
well,
not.
it
It's not a choice
This is
between.
clearly
Hold on, it's
market
not a
versus
choice.
consumer.
No, 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 no.
type
It's
of
not a choice between a.
arguments.
It's not a choice between a
Because what
rock
I'm
and
saying
apple.
is not it's bad that people are naked. I'm not saying it's bad that people sexualize women. I have not said any of those things tonight. What I'm saying is when it is out of place, when it is clearly the intent is an afterthought, an injection, a point to appeal to a young male audience in a way that really does not fit into the story, yeah, I think that's worse. And
No,
that
but
becomes the rotten
but
apple.
you
It's
don't.
not
But
the
here's the thing.
Yeah,
Here's no. But here's the thing: is that like what
Real
you
quick, I
say
think we
is
gotta
like.
move on to other people.
Yeah. Okay. And now I'll let go of this point. But basically, my point is that what you see as excessive or what you see as out of place, not everyone is going to agree on that. That's my point.
I agree. No one's going to agree on everything. It's
But
irrelevant.
you are making a moral standard. You're setting a moral standard. That's my point.
That's my point. Yeah.
Can I try something?
We're gonna give it to Tuna, then we're gonna give it to Xerxes, then we're
Take it
gonna
away.
give it to Emergency.
Okay.
That's the order we're gonna go in. Go ahead.
As the more moralistic, I guess, or like the more leaning on the moral argument, although I wouldn't even describe it as moral because ethical, whatever. The whole point of like this idea that there's a line in the sand and there are divisions only comes into play when people are talking about changing a methodology of what goes on and doesn't go on a platform. None of us on this side of the argument, from what I can tell, are talking about limiting or banning sexual content or pornography. My primary argument is that this has an effect on people, and the effect is one that reinforces itself. It's an effect that is very fun, very pleasant, obviously. That's why it spreads. And I'm thinking of this in terms of like, I do not think that it is good to have a personal sexuality that does not conform to your culture, because then you are not going to be able to connect to people with your sexuality. If the culture you're inside of is very sexual, then obviously the sexuality you're allowed, or I shouldn't just say sexual, is very public or is very kinky, very extreme, then you should meet that. I don't want people to just like be hyper Protestant or some weird shit. I'm saying that when somebody plays a Gooner game, the effect is that they are facilitating the development of a personal sexuality that is private, that often they're embarrassed about, and if they're not embarrassed about, someone will shame them for, which will cause a division between them and the rest of their culture. The same thing is true when somebody has the opposite, somebody has a hyper conservative affect inside of a culture that's more liberal. You're going to have to bear that brunt on your own shoulders. And most people are not willing to do that. And they need to understand where that's coming from. How are they becoming sexually radicalized? And it is by stuff like this. I mean, we had the last guy on, Lore. Lore said
stuff
that
like what again? When you said stuff, you're speaking to.
Come again?
When you said stuff like X, Y.
All right.
What's the stuff here again?
I don't know the sentence, but I can point to the examples I'm about to get to, which is Lore, the person who was on the panel just a bit ago, said he thinks that 3D humans are gross. This is a person who is writing the erotica, right? So what are we developing in a culture where people think that actual physical IRL intimacy is gross, and Star Nova has her tits out and says that she's not a sex worker?
To be clear, this is the moral
you can
argument.
have your titties
not
out
mine.
and not be a sex worker.
No,
not in America.
You are. Tuna is making a moral argument. I'm just saying that.
A lot, doesn't he?
I'm just saying that, like, Soypill, you are bringing you're not just saying this is good for me. You're also trying to put it out onto other people, or you're trying to say that, hey, this shouldn't be a trend where we like go down this level of like Guna games.
Can I clear this up, because I don't think you guys understand
to have
this.
good, better taste that more aligns with mine, then I guess that's morality. But that's not what I would call when I think of like.
No, I'm not
exactly-
saying that.
it's
I'm
not
not saying that.
though.
It's. I'm not saying it's. No, I'm not saying that it's like you're not.
This
You're not saying
morality
you're being
argument?
puritanical or anything. I'm just
We've
saying
made
that
it-
like.
But hold on, team. Listen, can you stop for a second? It seems like you don't get this, right? From his point of view, this is a quality critique of his immersion or his enjoyment of the product, right? That's all he's saying. He's saying that I don't like, even just think about like The Last Jedi. Let's say you don't like the character Holdo. You think that she's goofy, whatever, stupid, He's saying I would want less characters like that. Just for example, just to understand, He's not saying that it's wrong to have a character like that. He's saying he doesn't like it and he wishes to encourage other people to follow. It's not a moral thing. It's a quality.
That is
No, but
absolutely a moral
no. Okay,
It's
but
like
here's
it's
the
immoral,
difference.
For example, let me give you another
Zeus-
example. One more
yeah.
example, right?
Oh my God.
If I want more games like Kingdom Hearts 2 instead of Dark Souls 2, that's not a moral thing. I'm not
of
saying
course
Kingdom
not.
Hearts
No,
2 is
but-
morally good.
but-
I'm saying
course
the
not.
product is enjoyable and the gameplay is superior to Dark Souls 2. That's what he's
Okay,
saying.
but
So you have to
but
argue
Zeus,
the
but
quality.
here's
Can I
Zeus,
just I just
Zeus,
want to ramp. I just
Zeus.
kind of want to see where Soy's at on this. Maybe this can parse this out.
That was a good statement on
Soy,
me, real quick. Saying
Soy, do you think
No, I got you.
rape? Soy, do you think that rape is an immoral action?
yes, hot take.
Okay, great. You believe that rape is an immoral action. Is that correct?
The volcano
Yes.
take right there.
If a video game
need a fan.
depicts a rape, is that an immoral action?
No,
There it is. Explain it.
but if
Okay.
if a movie or a video game has a immoral action in it, is the movie immoral? Of course not. Like I can watch a
Why?
movie about the Holocaust and not think the Holocaust is bad, or oops,
Oh,
not think the movie is bad.
A critical
mask up,
misspeak.
everyone.
Critical misspeak.
It's too easy. It's way too easy.
Cancel.
It's way too
But
easy.
yeah, no, like, is that not clear that like if the media portrays a bad thing, the media itself isn't bad unless it's advocating for it, right? Like if the game was like go rape people, I'd be like, yeah, this game's bad. But if the game's like, hey, your character gets raped, this is part of the story, it makes sense in the story. For example, people call
How
out
does
rape
it
scenes
make?
in-
How? So walk me through that.
does it
How
make
does
sense?
something?
Because it's
How
a
does
real
something
thing
make?
that happens
I
to
mean-
real people. It can shape their
I mean, it
character. It can
happens,
maybe
right?
trauma they have to deal with.
Okay.
This is a
Here's what's
reality
funny.
that people deal with
Okay.
every day, and the idea that we can never have rape in media because it's bad is insane. Because it
I
happens.
never said that. I'm just trying to see where you
used to be
stand.
getting on my case for saying that rape in media is not immoral, which of course it isn't inherently immoral.
Right, but I'm
Yeah,
trying
I mean,
to
it
see the
happens all the
content.
time.
I'm trying to interrogate the content as to why you hold that position. That's all. That's it.
The content, yeah, I hold the position because the immorality would be encouraging a bad action that hurts someone, not
So,
portraying a bad action.
I mean,
so it's only immoral if the game encourages the immoral action.
It's not
I guess
only.
I don't like
It's
to
not
say
the
the
only
absolute
case.
like that, but that sounds kind of like what I'm saying. Yeah.
There are okay, Joe. How
what's
many?
the point, though?
I make a movie and it's an exploitation film where I have
Yes.
500 black men go out into the streets and rape white women.
What is it?
I believe
Are
that
we an
exploitation
immoral
film.
game?
I believe that exploitation films are morally wrong, and I want that outlawed in my society, socially,
Okay.
politically,
So
and economically.
you know that obviously depictions of rape can be immoral.
I would not. I would
Mhm.
outlaw rape in films.
Why?
That's my
Really?
stance.
Why?
Because I believe it's an
Absolutely.
immoral action, and I don't
Wow.
want immoral actions
Would
in
you
my
would you
films.
outlaw
Okay.
murder in your
Would you
film?
outlaw
Have
killing in
has
films?
this man
Hold on,
watched
everyone
a
wants
Red
to talk, but no one's going to talk except for me right now, please. Joe,
Yeah.
would you
So
outlaw murder in movies
yes,
and games? Interesting.
yes.
Okay,
Okay,
you're
bro. Okay.
no.
So you would
it's-
outlaw any
Alright.
immoral depiction?
Joe.
You would say.
I do not agree. I do not agree with content that is trying to, especially games. We're talking about games, right? I do not want games immersing people into those experiences because
Fucking
I believe
hallowed
that the cultural consequences.
bad games
Let me
is my
ISO.
moral
Can I
stance.
ISO?
You want to
No.
morally
Let him
regulate
finish,
your
let him
entire
finish,
morality.
Let him finish and
let him finish,
let me
let him
argue with this.
God, this is so dumb.
Let him
Yeah,
Is
finish.
it?
Go.
Oh,
Let-
so like
It's pretty
so
bad.
that
I think it
that's
is
dumb.
foolish. I'll
but
tell you
what do
why.
think?
I can tell you.
Why
I
is
can
it?
tell you
Why
why
is
it's
it
foolish.
foolish? Why is it
I'll
foolish?
tell you why. So number
So
one.
what's my
video
position?
games-
Rearticulate my position
if
so
I
you know what I'm
understand your
saying.
position, to be fair, right now, if I understand your position, you were saying that it is immoral and you would outlaw any immoral depiction of any violent act. I would say. So we use murder and we have rape. Would that be the case? Could we also have like robbery? Armed robbery. Would that also? Is it any depiction of anything? So just rape is covered in the umbrella.
Violence.
Emulations. So what I'm speaking to, by the way, is emulations, right? The idea of
Okay.
extreme.
So a
suffering.
character acting in the act itself, right? So the character performing said rape.
I
you would outlaw.
consider certain actions extreme suffering. I do not think it's
Mhm.
healthy for a culture or a society to participate in games that engage with extreme suffering. consumed specifically as entertainment as its purpose.
Okay.
Joe,
So here's why I
are
disagree.
you going to get rid of Brothers in the Hood?
More than that, right? The
Are you
issue
going to
that I
take that off the
have
shelf?
is that well, hold on, because I think this is
No, no,
interesting
the movie.
conversation.
In particular
You're gonna remove
games.
House MD.
He's talking about games. So games are interesting as an art form because they are immersive, and that's the core of what he's saying. And the reason
He
why I
said movies,
disagree
too.
with these depictions, he did say movies, but he did just clarify the games, right? Now the reason why I think that this is a wee bit silly is because video games offer, because of their immersion, one of the best ways to convey a message and a story to the audience that they are participating in. So for example, let's just use God of War on the top of my head, right? So the original trilogy has Kratos being an absolute horrendous human being, and in fact the third game is particularly gory. So we go into this awful depiction of Kratos, and then we have the fourth game where Kratos, as a story arc, has to battle his older self. That's what Baldur is, if you guys are familiar with the story. Baldur is more or less the mirror image to how Kratos used to be, right? Because of all of the awful things Kratos did and the immersion as a player, you also get to immerse yourself in the redemption arc and the reflection of how awful this is. If anything, it can help you understand regret and mercy more because you are the individual who is participating in the actions instead of someone who's just on the outside looking at it or hearing about it. So I don't agree immersion is bad. I think immersion is great. And you immerse yourself in a protected environment that is the video game. Now, are all video games like this? Obviously not, but God of War is an example off the top of my head.
The risk that I see is you turn these things into potential normalization of those extreme acts. So
Those are
much
already
so.
normal, Joe.
They're already normal.
Yeah, these are already normal.
I was very close to talking about a couple of countries over in the east.
No, but now what are you saying, Joe? What are you saying? The reason people are saying that it's normal is because now you have to not only explain why your rationale is the way it is, but you have to answer how are we going to put the cat back in the box. You can't.
Yes.
Like I remember one of the first times I remember GTA whatever where you chainsaw hookers and then pick up their money. Like I did that as a kid.
Right.
Joe, to put it in perspective, the way that we did sex in this country for a while
so, like,
was we just didn't talk
just
about
have to
it.
explain.
Parents wouldn't talk about it with their kids, and yet everyone's having sex, right? And when you allow people
trying so hard,
like sexual, like aggression, like these very bad, horrible, traumatic situations, what you can do is expose people to the idea of them, how to deal with them, how to process them with them, how to avoid them. But if you just don't portray it at all, no one knows about it, period.
Why does a game have that responsibility?
Well, it doesn't have a responsibility. It has the ability.
You just talked about how the games are taking this responsibility of making these cultural, moral, and ethical arguments.
It's not just games.
Can I hop in a little bit here?
Go ahead, Trippy. You're not. You just have to ball in there. You just have to get in there.
All right. I believe what Soy is saying is like these games can have very good storylines. They can teach lessons. They can show people going through things and developing the character as the game goes on. Right, Soy?
Sure. You can do those
I would
things.
Think that he's giving it that fairness, but you also
can do those things.
But
it's so
people
simple.
Go through traumas though. You've gone through trauma. I have. And we've grown and learned and become ourselves through that trauma.
And we don't need games to do that work
but video
for
games
us.
are a visual medium. Video games are a visual medium, just like movies.
Yeah.
Just like movies.
So
just like
I really don't think you
And
quite
books,
understand this, but that's cool. That's cool. It's why I just kind of threw it out there.
Video games aren't just for children.
Well,
video games are made by adults for adults as well as made by adults
what is
for
the
kids.
function? What is the purpose of a game?
It's for you to have an experience.
An experience? Games are just about
like
experiences?
Well, I mean, it depends on the game. Entertainment to convey a message. I mean,
it's a versatile medium. What's your point?
And games at their core are entertainment. Their goal and objective is to entertain people. The thing that I'm trying to outline as a risk is that a medium designed for entertainment that is trying to drive profit as something that Starnova admitted outright that these developers are only trying to drive profit and these type of things. It seems a little dicey to be engaging with extreme
shows. What about any other form of media that is entertainment that is going to be driven by profit? Should those things not be able to portray real life situations that are bad?
I think they
to
should.
be a
would say
level
yes.
of,
Isn't that why they
There,
make genres?
that has to be applied to real
Should
life.
Breaking Bad have been a story
it
about a
has
man trying to pay his
Star
bills by
Star
working
Star
two
Nova.
jobs
Star, was that you that said that? Was that you that said that, Star?
That's
Yeah,
what I mean by genres. That's why they have
what's the?
genres, right?
This
Different
is why we have
genres.
genres. Like, I'm not denying. I've
Okay.
never denied that genres exist. I'm speaking specifically about games because these are entertainment drivers. Sure,
So
documentaries can be entertaining, but the function
Okay, so yeah,
of
right.
the
So what you're
genre
saying
of
is fictional
documentary
media should
is
not be able to
different.
portray immoral acts. That's what you're telling me right now, right?
I have no idea what you just said. What was it?
Fictional media, as in movies and TV shows or video games, should not be able to portray immorality.
And we'd have to lose things like RoboCop in that case.
By the way,
Well, we
Soyful,
first
I take,
agree
I
to
take,
that.
I take my take back.
God.
Joe's trumped everyone on the morality thing.
This is what morality
said,
arguments
my
look
bad,
like. Not
G.
about I think this game's better. It's I think that this is an immoral act and we should get rid of it. This is the puritanical thing.
This is a fundamentally silly argument, because then you are actually talking about, for example, there's a really good old movie called Speak. That's one of like
Yes.
Kristen Stewart's old like first few appearances or whatever the
Very
fuck it
good
is.
movie.
Okay,
Very good
what?
movie.
And
It's
you
not
do you
old,
think
though.
that it shouldn't
Is
exist
she?
because it centers around rape?
The thing that I am paying attention, and just to be clear, I don't hold this position. I just knew it would rally motherfuckers up. So that's
Oh, what?
no notes. No
Man, you're
notes.
capping.
I was just
No.
pretending to be retarded, guys.
I'm
Great.
telling you.
Awesome,
I'm just
dude.
I'm just saying.
Shame on
I'm just
here.
saying.
No, actually, okay,
So-
Joe,
no,
I'm
that's
actually
fine.
mad
here.
now.
But-
Joe,
Get
I'm
him outta
actually
here,
mad
dude.
now.
Whatever.
Now
No,
I'm
no,
mad
no,
because
but-
I
no,
thought you were
Ice
gonna
Beans.
take
You
this. I
guys
thought you
got
were gonna.
upset when I said
I thought you were
fucking
gonna take
stupid
this
shit.
into.
Yeah, okay.
I'm sorry.
No,
I thought
Ice
you were gonna
Beans.
take
Get
this
him
into
outta
like
here.
interrupt this.
Hold on,
I'm not-
hold on,
Get
hold
him
on, hold
outta
on.
here.
We're gonna get
Ice Beans
$20
knocks.
Yeah.
while I process that to say this from Alexander Rin. Thank you for the $20 to say, if not games, then what or who? Also, why does gaming have to be limited to entertainment? All forms of storytelling has told stories to teach people. Joe is an idiot if this is his
No.
thought through belief, but
I was
apparently it's
kidding.
not his thought through
Yeah,
belief.
he's
So let me.
Okay,
so
wait,
let me-
actually, go ahead,
all right,
Joe.
all right,
Save
so you
yourself.
brought-
playing corner
Save
So you
yourself.
brought this up.
advocate.
You brought
Save
that. You
yourself.
brought this up, right?
Save
right. So
yourself. Go
you
ahead.
brought this up because Speak
Go
is a
ahead.
fantastic example.
Yeah.
Deep ass cut. It's good for you. So the thing that I'm paying attention to when it comes to content, especially content around serious subjects. So a serious subject could be essay. A serious subject could be certain historical events. I think it's very important for whoever is making these mediums to understand their role within the genre and then how they can responsibly cover that particular genre, right? So for instance, take Speak, right? This was a book that I had to read in, I think it was middle school at that point. It was like a required middle school reading for me.
Same. Yeah, I never
And it's-
actually. To be fair, I didn't actually really watch the movie. I read the book. So
Yeah, we did both. We
yeah.
because they didn't care in the 2000s. We watched the book and watched the movie and just got signed a permission slip and been done with it. But the thing that happens is, and this happens very often in musical environments, right? Like when you like certain aspects of musicals, right? There's a way that you need to hold the content to a level of respect and then responsibly presenting that to the public. And sometimes that can get very, very blurry. An example of this for anybody that's in musicals, right? Like it's really dicey when I see schools do public presentations of certain musicals that have some dicey material. I can't think of a really solid example in my head, but there's different depictions of rapes in musicals, outright rapes in musicals, sexual violence, entire drug scenes, domestic violence. And then like one of the things that I always find so interesting is that when these things happen, audience members, which essentially are kids, are just laughing at it. And then like I see teachers get like, how dare you like laugh at this thing? And it's like, we haven't built the culture or ethic to have children, usually of like high school age, to like broadly understand like what's happening with these things. And then my question is, like, as somebody who like is within that particular field, is like, what do we do with that type of content? Or like, if we know that there are particular intense moments, one that comes to example is Sweeney Todd, for instance. How can we convey that work in a way that is responsible relative to the audience as accepting that thing?
Okay.
And there's been different responses to that. That's
Okay,
the
we do
thing
need
that
to
I'm
get more
concerned about.
people in. We need to
I'm glad
get,
you wasted an hour
different-
lying about your position so you could say that point at the end. That was awesome, dude.
Okay.
You could have just said
Just
that.
just FYI, housekeeping. We are the well's running dry, gang. You aren't giving me enough money, and if we don't get here, I'll give the number. If we don't get $50 in the next 10 minutes, I'm gonna cut the stream off. So if you want this to keep going, $50. That's how we do. I do want to get CPCA. I'll give you another chance. Go ahead. Have your point, please.
Oh my god, man. This Joe guy, such a windbag. Anyways, I
Soy
wanted
talked
to
more than
say,
me.
essentially, okay, that at the end of the day, right, there is no, I guess you would say, clear direction for where culture in terms of media is going. We don't know where it will be in the future, okay? And so to make assertions and firm statements today are essentially pointless because nobody's applying real politique, okay, to sexual discussion. I think
True.
if we apply more realistic goals and more firm understandings, okay, that we will be headed towards, I guess, a better future. And that's what I wanted to say. Just a small piece, okay? Because
So you believe, so CPCA, so you believe that substantive sexual education might help alleviate this problem that we're currently dealing with?
It depends.
Do you believe that there's substantive sexual education?
I mean,
Let's start there.
No education can prepare you for the real world, I guess.
Okay.
Well,
okay,
sure.
Just real quick. I want to keep this on subject, and if we go into education debate, it's not going to be on subject.
Well, it's not about education. It's just
Okay.
I think it's reasonable to say that men have problems with their tits getting small in games is because we don't have comprehensive sex education in the external world. I think that's a reasonable assumption to make.
Excuse me, I would like my tits to get smaller, personally.
$5 from Mori Memento to say, I've learned today that unless you use stripping has something to do with the overall narrative of the debate, it is pointless, thus I cannot support it. Oh, well,
So sad,
that's
so
okay.
sad.
Thank you for the $5.
That's so true.
I want to give the mic to Star if she has any thoughts, because she's been fairly quiet for a bit.
Yeah.
And I want to make sure she gets a chance to get in here. And I want Xerxes to get in here too. Go ahead, Star.
I kind of feel like Joe and whatnot are kind of in support of censorship.
Yes. I'm 100% pro censorship.
I'm not for censorship in that way. We've already established guidelines in the industry for many of the industries, right? And it's kind of carte blanche, all about the same. And I do believe that things are being over sexualized, and especially getting to the kids, and that's where a lot of addiction and things come from, because obviously, between the porn, the gaming, and drugs and everything else, it's all dopamine hits, okay, which is very addictive and ruin people's lives. But for the most part, I mean, we're all adults, aren't we? And you have different genres, and you as an adult can choose and pick what it is that you want to watch or do. I don't need you censoring things for me. I had a mom and a dad once.
And your mom
that's not the government's job, is not to be my mom and my daddy.
Well, I think, okay, so, I like this a lot. I don't think your parents were any more or less capable than my parents. My parents were
Sure.
probably just as shitty as yours, and your parents shouldn't be the only metric of you determining
My
what the
parents
world
were
should be.
shitty.
But that wasn't her point.
Like,
And
no,
what
but I'm
was my
saying that,
Was that
like,
the government
no,
shouldn't restrict her
But you want
ability or
to
anyone's
make
The
a
government
pop
should
about my
app
mom and my dad, huh?
I mean, sure,
Yeah,
but
that's
like
her
the
point.
government
I
should
mean-
app. Yeah. No, I'm using that to lay out the point where if we understand that like mothers and fathers are completely incapable in most cases to properly acculturate and socialize a child, then who else is responsible for that? That's the question I'm asking you.
Well, it
Me?
wouldn't be the government.
You directly.
I mean, it literally is right now.
Are teachers not the extension of the government?
I mean, they
Me.
Not really.
Me or
They
him?
direct-
They're
No, they're
government
Schools with
in
mandatory
Joe was
public school.
asking
They are
you,
government
Star.
employees.
regulated by the state is absolutely an extension of the government. Yeah.
Yeah. So the government already has a stake in your
Sure, I
kids.
guess.
So like, I'm just trying to figure out like, okay, who else should have a stake in your children besides your parents?
I mean,
Well, the problem is
fact-
everyone, including
Nobody.
their friends, also has a stake in their children, right?
So
All
including the
different types
government
of
then, right?
medias, books, sure, the
Her answer
government.
was nobody.
But her
There we go.
her point
Answer's
was that
nobody.
you shouldn't be restricted from the media you want as an adult. That's her point. You have to argue.
That was my point.
Yeah.
So so
was
we
it.
shouldn't be
But hold on. I look. I think there's a more interesting angle to go down here, and I'm just really curious, right? Because Star, you mentioned over sexualization. You think that the society's become over sexualized. Can you elaborate a little bit on what you mean by that?
Advertising, where music videos have went. It's went
Extremes.
from everything's in massive amounts of extremes, which is
You
inundating people. Yeah.
so first of all, thank you for the $100. Okay, Alexander.
Oh,
wow.
Keep going.
You hit your
I
goals,
know, so
sir.
it feels like, oh my God, pain. But it's
Well,
okay.
I can
we
leave
get it.
whenever I want, right, Wake?
I
I'm not
mean,
beholden
True,
to
that's
you.
true. I'm not. You can leave at any time.
No, don't leave,
But,
soy.
Yeah,
Don't
but
leave.
first of all, I'll get to that in a second. But
Pretty
before I
soy
forget
of
my
him to do
question, right? So, Star, though, if you're complaining
Sure.
about over sexualization, you do understand that you are contributing to it, correct?
Yeah.
How am I contributing?
Look at the melons.
Holy
look,
shit!
Star-
Wait.
Star-
You're hot. That's
Look,
how I
look,
guess.
Just
Yeah,
a
you're
second
hot.
here.
Why do you think you're
This is
on
why you
this
keep me
panel,
around,
though?
Wick,
You
okay?
think it's
You're
because
an
of your really
attractive
smart
lady.
opinion?
I need
No,
to
Star,
I choose this
shut up
out.
and let her answer the question.
hear Wick out here.
You understand,
Star,
right, that you
I'm
are
gonna crash
contributing
out.
to it with your outfit.
My regular old tank top that I've had
Yeah.
for like 4
I
years.
mean, I'm not
I mean, look
complaining
at
about
it.
it. I don't
At
mind it
home.
at all. I'm
Right.
not saying it's a bad thing, but I'm saying that
Right.
it does add a sexual element that would otherwise not be.
Holy
I'm gonna
fuck.
let you-
Yeah, but
I
I'm
can
not
save you,
doing
Wick. I'm gonna let you dig this hole.
I'm not
trying
doing
to
weirdo
include
sexual
that
acts. I'm not
Sure.
overt
Hold on.
or
We're not
anything.
asking.
second.
You're not overt, but like what he's trying and failing to say is that you
Yeah, I
you
see what you're
have
saying.
we get it.
I can't
that-
believe
Well,
that
not
would
like-
be-
with those
that
things,
would
He's
be
trying to
guys.
say
They're
you
not-
have some nice
that's a
titties.
puritanical
That's-
approach.
No, those are
Well,
implants.
Star,
Number one.
Star,
Okay.
you should be asking if they're under the impression that your chest is fake, because I know it's not.
They're not.
It is implants. Okay, I've been
I-
No, it's
screaming.
not. It's
the
not
past-
implants.
I've
They're
never said
fake.
that they are
Okay.
fake. Or
You know
anything
he
like
Wait,
that.
hated
wait.
you to do
Why
that.
are we
Wick.
asking
He's a
us?
bait.
Wick.
Yeah, those
I've
are
never
friend.
had any plastic surgery.
Wick.
Not
Let
even a little.
me
Really
try to
does
understand what
everything.
you are trying to say here. Because
I'm
goddamn.
saying what I mean.
I
saying
mean,
she
yeah,
can't help
I'm
it.
I'm
Being very
aware.
coy about it, Wick.
Are
What
you
you're trying
trying-
to say is the reason that Nova has been invited on this panel is not for her genius opinions or charming personality.
Yeah.
It's because she has huge tits, and you saw that last night on Sarah's
The
panel, and you
same
invite her
reason that you
onto
were
the Tiddy
invited on the
debate. That's
show.
what you're
Yeah,
trying to say.
That-
I'm glad we're having
Genius
this amazing
move.
conversation.
To be
Genius.
fair, right? Yeah.
You're thirsty. You're thirsty. Okay.
Yep, she is
Marketing.
thirsty and she's got the milk.
It's marketing.
It is. Look, I'm not saying it's bad. I'm not saying it's immoral. I'm not
God.
saying it's even wrong. I enjoy it, right? But it's there.
I prefer
And if
fun
we want to
conversations.
talk about
honestly,
over
Wick, but-
sexualization, and
I
we
agree,
want to
Soy.
say that that's a problem, then I think, like, obviously there are other outfits you could have chosen to wear that would be less revealing than what you have on.
Okay, Habibi, calm down.
Well,
God
Guys,
damn.
I'm not
Nick, I gotta go. Can I say one last thing before I go away?
Quick,
Oh,
quick,
yeah.
quick, quick, quick.
Go ahead, Soy.
Soypill's got an outro. Soypill's got an outro. Go
I
ahead.
got an outro. Look,
Okay,
look,
please.
I'm not. I don't want to legislate morality, guys. Okay, I just think that there are ways that games cannot be cringe. I don't like cringe. I want less cringe media. It is a zero-sum game. Money has to be put into these things. Publishers only have so much money, and I don't like that they're using this weird, marketing tactic to make what I would consider worse quality games. That's all I really have to say about that. And just because, Star, you've been over-sexualized, I'm going to give you this opportunity to prove you're smart. What are the 4 components of GDP that non?
No, I'm not doing that. Hold on a second. I want to redress. Hold on, I want to redress something. She's wearing a tank top, and she looks cute. All right. Or I'm wearing a tank top. I'm an H cup. It all fits me about the same way. That's
a fair argument. Now, what are the 4 components of GDP?
I'm not doing this with you. I'm not doing this.
All right.
Soy, before you know what
they say. I came here
Before anyone else goes, I gotta read the $100 super chat. I really do gotta read this $100. Okay.
But at least let me say this to Soy while he's here, right? Because I actually I actually would like to have a conversation about this. Because here's the thing, I understand your argument, but I would like to actually expand on it. And I'll be honest with you, we really didn't get to do that. So by all means, but
later, man.
just to tell you, I think adios, dude.
Yeah, and wear a less revealing shirt next time, Soy. God.
Yeah, God
I can see your shoulders or something.
That hat, less revealing. Get a different hat. It's sexual.
I'm a dirty slut.
No, that pickle Rick in the back. We know what you're up to.
All right, so
we know what you're doing.
I saw check. Okay, let me read the $100 super chat because they paid me $100. It says roast Joe and/or mute him for 15 minutes for making me waste $20, only for him to realize how stupid his take was and decide to pretend it was just bait before you read it. Also, give your best arguments for and against violence in video games, no stripping. So, Joe, I am going to mute you because you did pay me $100.
Wait, was that end to me or was that part to you?
No, roast Joe and/or mute him for 15 minutes for making him waste $20, only for him to realize how stupid his take was and decide to pretend it was just bait.
Sorry, I'm sorry.
Also, give is that you or me?
And then me give my best arguments for and against violence.
Got it. I see what you're saying. Sure.
Sorry. So we're gonna mute you. Timer starts now. Okay. Sorry, Joe. But $100. Okay. My best argument for violence in video games is it allows us to engage in play where it does no actual harm, but we get to pretend and experience things and maybe enjoy ourselves with violence in a way that won't actually hurt someone. So it allows us to get an urge out that does no actual harm. The argument against it is a similar one, is that it, while indulging in our urges, it lowers our ability to resist our urges.
I don't think it's an urge. See, I don't. The need for video games isn't itself an urge. The point is to inflict harm. As much as, honestly, it's to either go through a competition or to overcome something difficult. And overcoming violence is just the ultimate difficulty. Like, survival is the ultimate difficulty, but we don't, use a sword because we just want to see blood. We want to overcome the dragon or the powerful force. And I think that's pretty consistent in most video games, even. Probably just kind of like...
Yeah, and wait, can I follow up?
Excessively, gratuitously violence.
No. You're
add to that?
Oh, go ahead. Go ahead, Nova.
It'll be fast. I'm a quick talker. It's geared so that the player is the hero because everybody wants to be the hero.
Yeah,
that's what the marketing strategy is, and that's what everybody buys into. You're the hero, or you get powers, or some people like being the bad guy. I mean, what's the difference between that and an action movie? It's really no difference,
except the immersion, right?
So again, for me,
except for you are controlling it.
But I would say that's the bonus. That's what makes video games great. You know.
Okay, so look, not everybody. I don't understand this personal. I don't understand this objection because there are some games where what you are and the powers and the skills and the tools that you have, they make sense in the situation. In Deliverance Kingdom Come, you're like a fucking blacksmith's son or some shit. And when you go to fight the guy for the first time, you get pummeled into the ground because you're a fucking blacksmith's son trying to wield a sword. that makes sense in that moment. But that kind of game, having that kind of rationale, is, in my opinion, just as valid as any old slasher video game where there's so much blood and guts and it doesn't, that you're like, okay, this is kind of excessive. It appeals to somebody. It's been sold. If enough people like it, it becomes a classic hit. Who the hell am I to say this one is wrong because it has no rationale for like you using a sword, right? What I thought that Joe's argument was going to be when he was talking about the rape stuff was I thought he was actually cooking on a point where he was like, okay, what if you have a game wherein the rape is actually, you are put into the position of a raper and it is part of the video game that you rape somebody, like, and that is either seen as a neutral or a necessary thing. I thought that's where he was going to go with that. Maybe that would have actually been the thing for me to say, okay, all right, now we can maybe talk about putting on like some more moral breaks, because now actually you're talking about taking it a step further. Like, we already kill people in video games, but we don't really have video games where you are the rapist, right? Like, so I don't, I guess,
enough, yeah.
I guess that's, I don't, again, the wanton violence is kind of fine for me if it makes sense in the game that it's in, it makes sense. I don't think that that's an issue.
Okay, I don't know what you were yapping about, but
Y'all
as I was saying,
just love to cook people. Jeez.
I guess a woman was talking,
That's-
so his
I'm
brain
being-
shut
Yeah,
off.
no, it's okay. It's okay. You
Mercy,
shut your
just
brain
let a
off. It's
person
all right,
talk.
little gup. It's
No,
fine.
crazy.
It's totally fine. You couldn't follow the point. I was just responding to something Joe
I
said
have to
earlier.
leave in 5.
Okay.
Okay, do you want to give? Hold on.
Star.
Do you want to? No, that's fine. We've gone over time. Tell people where they can find you. All that. Give an outro, closing statement. Go ahead, Star, please. And thank you for coming. I do appreciate it.
Yeah, I appreciate you having me on. Closing statement. I think if you don't like something or you want to see a change in something, then you have to obviously redirect where your money goes. That's just, it comes down to personal responsibility, and I don't want somebody picking what it is I do or what it is that I like for me. Thank you very much, government. Stay out of my personal business. Secondarily, you can find me at School of Thought, THOT. It's a play on words, and it's kind of like a variety thing. I do a little bit of news. I'm getting into medical stuff because I like to help people also. And that's about it. Enjoyed meeting all of you. You all seem to be very, very nice.
If you send me a link to your channel, I'll put it in the YouTube description. Thank you for being
Okay.
here. And yeah, I'll hope to have you back sometime. Bye-bye.
Yes, sir. Thanks. Thanks, Wick.
Bye.
I'm an
Okay.
extremely bitter man. I don't know why. I think I've become jaded from listening.
You're 19 years old.
Yeah.
I'm
You've
man.
got a
Somalian.
while to be
Bro.
jaded, bud.
I'm Somalian, okay? My
That
life
doesn't
is hard.
change. That I don't
Is
know
your
that
name
that
Johnny?
changes.
I'm just playing.
No? Well, Johnny, he isn't Somalian. He's Ethiopian, okay?
No, I know.
Oh, is he
But-
really now?
And I wouldn't put that on a whole group of people. That's his bad decisions that are making him what he is.
Yeah,
And this
yeah.
is my bad decisions right here.
I mean,
Okay, $20 to unmute Joe. Okay, fair enough.
I'm gonna
yeah,
cover
Joe
my
did
And-
nothing wrong. Free my boy Joe.
From the same
Free my boy
person,
Joe.
weirdly, that muted you.
Awesome.
Alexander Rin says, agree with the girl on the top left. Sorry, I don't know names. That's Ice Beans, by the way. Say you can unmute Joe now, and I did unmute Joe. So thank you for the $20. I do appreciate it. Hey, Joe,
I have a
I'm
toxic
glad you're-
question for Ice Beans.
Go ahead. Toxic question, eh?
Toxic. I just want to kind of see where you land because you said something. I want to interrogate it.
ahead.
Let's say there's a Call of Duty game, right? It's coming out.
Okay.
And they are depicting the 90s and 2000s. And the
Okay.
tutorial is in particular about vehicles and vehicle navigation. Should Call of Duty, in this case Epic Games, use the 9/11 terror attack as an example within the confines of a vehicle tutorial? Would you say that's okay to be in the game, and would you allow it? Or any type of variation of that.
A vehicle tutorial, and you are in what? The plane?
It teaches you the basic navigations around vehicles, and the context of it is the beginning of the game. So the beginning of the game is trying to
Okay.
set that this Call of Duty game
Okay,
is in the
where-
context of Iraq, Afghanistan, and generally the war on terror.
Where
That's the
are
overall
you,
theme.
though? My question is, who
You're the
are
pilot.
You're the pilot.
You're the pilot. You start
You're
out
the
with maybe
terrorist.
some. So you start out maybe as the I'll really load it for you. You'll start out as the passengers first, about navigating through basic navigation. You start out in the game in a plane. So you learn how to like pick up items, you learn how to interact with other like NPCs. You can even like interact with how like to crouch, stand, sit, all of that stuff. And then it goes through, you get the perspective of a terrorist. And now you are learning how to like navigate a weapon, draw weapons, change them, how to tie up hostages, how to kick down doors, and then finally you inevitably end up as the pilot.
Okay, and you're asking me if I have a like, what are you
Would you have any
specifically asking?
Would you have any issue with that in the context of a Call of Duty tutorial?
I mean, I think it's a pretty distasteful it's a pretty distasteful example. I think it would be one of those cases where I'd say it's not great, but I'm also not going to stop that developer from shooting themselves in the foot with it.
No, I think that's awesome. I think that'd be really great, actually.
What does that teach?
I think.
Well, it would depend on the story, right? Like, for example, what if we were to frame this story, right, where we put you in the eyes of the antagonist, right? We put you in the eyes of the villain so you can see what they're thinking and how they're feeling and what it would take to do such an act, right? Now, if you're affected by that emotionally, the same way you would be if you read a book or the same way you'd watch the movie, it's going to leave an impact on you that could actually be something positive, because now you think to yourself, I see the greatest of evils, right? I see how awful people can be. Now that I've been immersed in it and I've been behind their eyes, maybe there's a way I can be better or do something different after that. Again,
and a Call
the same way you could get from a book or a TV show or
he's,
anything, right?
No, I mean, I think he's saying it like I mean, he is loading it a bit more in the sense that it is actually not loaded. It is using a very like a very traumatic event as a tutorial level, as opposed to like the the climax of the story, right?
Well, that's what
or
I'm
it's
saying.
Something that's been
so it's
built
all based
toward.
on the story. It's all based on the context, right? If this is just like terrorist simulator, right, where you're just supposed to go in and just kill a bunch of people, and then you would say that, well, the intent is pretty awful. But if the intent is to put you in that environment and the story is used to reflect or used to tell the story of how someone becomes evil and how you can overcome it, then we have a different context. We have something that's even stronger than what a film could ever display. So it all depends, in my opinion.
Right, but I gave you explicitly what it's for. It's trying to paint the landscape that this game is happening during the event after this attack, and it's using the attack as a tutorial.
Exactly.
I mean,
I think it can be a prologue. I mean, it doesn't matter if it's. Go ahead.
I'm keep in mind, like I don't know how deep you know about games, Ice, but Call of Duty already did this, so and got into a lot of trouble, but.
But ultimately, okay, and again, I've never played COD, but like, would you say that is it your opinion that they shouldn't have done that?
Yes.
Okay.
I don't think in the particular context, you don't know it, but I'm just stating it as the affirmative. We're talking specifically about Call of Duty Modern Warfare 2. The mission was called No Russian. And I don't believe that you needed to have that depiction as a prelude to understand the plot of the game. You could have easily depicted that this happened off screen, and you as a gamer don't have to participate in that to understand what you're trying to paint. That harkens to the point that I'm making in terms about like how you can how you can approach content sensitively.
I
can't. I don't know if
right. Like, and again, like I'm taking an example that happened and I'm amplifying it. This is not a 1-for-1 correlation. Do you know what I'm saying? Like I'm not saying the No Russian mission is exactly the same as what I just described.
I mean, No Russian already happened in real life. Okay. It did. Just a few years ago.
I guess my issue and to kind of go back to what Xerxes was saying, I again can't speak for COD, but like I could 100% see where even a traumatic event or like something that could be seen as distasteful by people like me could actually be used to the benefit of the story.
Yeah,
It
but
is in the framing and how it's loaded and what the story actually is. Does it continue to build on to something greater, or is it just used as a side gag? You know, like
Exactly.
sure, like
but ultimately those things I think are all. I mean, these are all very subjective things. What you might find distasteful, I might not, right?
Yeah, I can give you another example, right? I think it'd be a good idea if we had more heroines that were sexually assaulted and we got to see them overcome it. Why?
what
To
does
give women
in a game?
heroes where it could be in a video game, it can be in books, movies. I think Speak is actually is one of my favorite movies. Because it is showing us that reflection or that view from one side of things from our main protagonist, how deeply affected she is. And more than anything, it gives her an arc where she overcomes it. The guy tries to come, spoilers, the guy tries to do it again, and then she finally speaks. She finally yells. She screams, "Hey, help me!" Right? And I think that we can use these traumatic experiences in a controlled environment, that is, in a video game, to help give people models to overcome them later.
But
And just
So I don't
just to
think we
fo-
should
I'm
shy away
sorry,
from
just
it
to
at
follow
all.
up, just to
so
follow up on this point. I'm sorry, just to follow
yeah,
up on this. Wait, just to follow up on this point. I like Speak is actually a pretty good example because it was credited for a lot of kids actually realizing, oh hey, this can happen. Like, or you know, so I think that like I don't think I think Joe, what you're maybe not maybe what like you're struggling to kind of rationale
well,
is
no,
like this idea of like you being sexually assaulted in a game.
but do we like okay, I take some moderate offense to trying to like reduce the plot to Speak like that. Speak is an allegory about how in the face of sexual trauma that you're able to speak to those who are in your life that you care about. The book concludes with her mother,
Yeah,
like her
she's
mother
talking to her
learning
mom.
about this traumatic event. Not
Yeah,
that
but
that
no,
like
but
I
we're not
disagree
reducing
with.
it. To be clear, the only reason we're reducing it is because we've been talking about outrageous
Right,
things.
but
Okay, so
that reduction is when it comes to the sake of the book wrong. So like the art, like I can't
Well,
jive
I'm
with
talking
that.
about I'm talking about the film. I saw the film, so yeah. I'm speaking of the movie, but regardless.
Okay, it's still the same thing, but sure.
But it
The
isn't
same ending
thing because
exists in both of these
what's
examples.
your
Thank you for
point?
bringing me on,
regardless,
Wick.
you're
I
being.
mean,
Here's the thing.
look,
You're
I
being
listened
overly
to this.
pedantic
I
and not
listened to this
the point.
argument about like a terrorist game to indoctrinate people to become terrorists. That is the silliest thing I've ever heard in the world. Just because I
Huh?
played Border Control Simulator doesn't mean I feel comfortable to now address the security concerns of an actual border control point. A terrorist game where you fly a plane into the tower is really dumb because you're supposed to keep the plane out of the tower. That's a proper tutorial for learning to fly, right? If you want to say, oh, you have a terrorist simulator to learn how to like tie people's hands up, what? Okay, you just press E. It's literally the COD like meme. Press F to pay respects. Press
Yeah.
E to tie somebody up. I feel absolutely
lined
confident
up.
that I can now take over a plane.
Okay, Dispel, but you said all that, but I'm gonna need you to show me that parrot though.
I don't know how to do it on Discord.
Oh.
Thank you, Ice Beams. I love the parrot.
Huh?
I'll DM.
I don't.
Okay.
So why
I'll
did
bring
you?
up Right.
I'm confused about the response. Like, what was that responding to?
Actually, Nick,
You
I'm
believing
gonna dip out.
you
I
bel-
probably shouldn't have been here as long as I was because I didn't know what you were
Xerxes,
talking about.
it's always a
But
pleasure, and we'll see
I'll
Xerxes
see- I'll see you on
Friday,
Friday.
actually.
Yeah.
Sure.
Xerxes, hit me up at some point. We can chat up later.
Yeah. And
Sure.
Xerxes,
In fact,
hold on,
I'll add you right now.
just real quick. Xerxes is going to be on our show Friday talking to Diane Yap. And that
Oh
should
yeah,
be
that'll
fun.
be
Very
very
nice.
interesting. I have to tell you,
Diane, yeah.
that's quite the interesting confrontation there.
She's
But I do have to.
Dr. Yap, some call her.
Yeah.
I'll see you guys. I'll see you guys soon.
Never. Who
Have a good
calls
evening.
themselves that? What the fuck?
I'm sure he can't wait to yap with Yap.
Yeah. No, I was responding to your analogy of a terrorist simulator game, and this is the silliest thing I've ever
Gotcha.
heard. There
Why
is a
did
very
I-
clear separation between fantasy and reality when you're playing a game. And if you are concerned that kids or even adults can't tell the difference between fantasy and reality, I don't know. I don't know what to tell you. I feel like that's delusional.
That wasn't the claim that I was making. I think that it is important to responsibly depict events. So I was challenging the
What do you mean
responsibility.
responsibly events? Like alt history is like super popular.
Ice Beans
Yeah.
articulated the point as to why she would be like okay with it, but where her reservations lied. It's a point that I agreed with her on because I didn't challenge it. I don't know what you're engaging with right now.
Oh no, I'm perfectly fine with the terrorist simulator. Because
So
I don't
you're-
think any
so
sane
let's
person is
parse it
actually
out.
going to like take that and go and do
Okay.
terrorism.
Okay,
If you
so
were planning on doing terrorism, you wouldn't play a game to like learn.
So you're totally fine with a video game depicting the October 7th attack from the perspective of Hamas and the entire mission, up to and including the Nova Music Festival massacre? You're fine with that?
I'm pretty sure that has already been done, and I don't think that there's going to be
Pretty
a way
sure
for us to
from
meaningfully
who?
like clamp down on that.
Wait, you said pretty sure. So
Like you're
who
asking me
depicts
if
that?
I'm okay with that? I can't do anything about that.
Yeah.
I don't think we can do anything about that.
We
Unless we
absolutely
actually
can.
just
Try, you can bitch
bust
and
down the door.
moan about it, but like
Yeah,
at
you can
the
bitch
end
and
of
moan.
the day, yeah.
So
Like-
so the only response is to bitch and moan about it, even though we have like Congress and
Yes,
the government.
you are the
that can
authoritarian in this call.
intervene.
You are the authoritarian in this call. You believe we should kick down game makers' doors and arrest them.
No, I said very clearly that there's a responsible way to cover historical events, and depending on these context, you don't necessarily have to depict the event outright for people to understand what is happening. In the example
Sorry,
of the
sir.
call,
Your game falls outside the mandates of the state, outside of the truth of the state. You are now under arrest. Come with me.
Before we get too big
Okay.
into
The
this,
myth of
$10.
consent.
Let me
The
read a little
myth of
from the chat.
consent is
Okay,
basically
just real quick. I need to make a little money.
Mhm.
Okay. $10 from Alexander Rin to say this. Where does Joe want to draw the line? Should we ban Roots? Should we ban any film that depicted slavery, poverty? What?
Why do people always bring up these dumbass questions with a black person in the room? Like, there's a way to responsibly cover events and responsibly depict events in games, in films, and movies. And there's a bunch of really good examples of how certain things are handled responsibly. And there's a myriad of examples that are not covered responsibly. And then it's our duty as consumers to go, hey, you know, maybe we don't need since we're talking about black people, I guess, we don't need the nth depiction of a slave master whipping a black person to understand the confines of what slavery looked like. We don't need to have
We do
white
have that
people
depiction, bud.
overtly just saying the N-word when any single linguistics will tell you, like, people weren't just openly just like
Homicide.
aggressively like rolling,
Roots.
like rounding up and charging up and saying the N-word. A lot of the racism that black people face in America was very passive, very internalized, and you can depict that in films. You can depict how these certain things, whether it be violence,
Not in
whether
games.
it be microaggressions, all these type of stuffs can manifest itself within the external world. You can use certain levels of media to do that. Why are we trying to act like I'm holding some more extreme position where I'm trying to be authoritarian?
No,
I'm not
because
authoritarian.
you
gotta
said
let
no,
it
because
go.
Joe, you said
Oh,
you,
right, they're still
you
stuck in the thing before, right?
No, you said all
Yeah.
that, but then like the examples that you're using is like a very like specific hypothetical of like a very
Well, right, because
but I mean, if your point is that we can do like more with nuance, then you should be bringing the examples of nuance. Like I
right,
don't.
which is why my position, right, like if I were to say the ought in the 9/11 example, you don't have to depict 9/11 for people to understand what 9/11 is. You don't have to depict what October 7th is for people to understand what October 7th is. You have other different vehicles of media that if they're doing their jobs, and other vehicles of media could be within education, could be within history. Like if these things are being done responsibly, then you don't need to explain through somebody in a video game what this looked like
Okay.
and what it really
Well,
felt
what
like.
about
Okay, all
what
right.
about Grand Theft
Does that
Auto
make
San
sense?
Andreas? What about San
Yes. Okay,
Andreas?
so literally no
Game
sensitive
violence.
content
Also-
in video games,
also, I
but
have
everything
to go,
else. Every
guys.
other form of media is fine.
Okay,
All right, bye,
let's,
Ice
hold on.
Beans.
Let's give Ice.
Sorry.
Let's give Ice an
Yeah.
outro. Proper outro for
Sorry,
Ice.
Ice.
Okay.
Tell people where they can
I'm-
find you, all
ye-
that. And
Yep,
to
yep,
be
yep.
clear, you have also sexualized the space. I didn't want to leave you out. Okay, I just want to
Oh
make
yeah,
sure.
absolutely. Okay. I am ice_beans on Twitch. icebeans76 on YouTube. Please go follow me. I'm trying to work towards monetization. I do variety stuff, and then sometimes I come on here to yell at Wick. Fun times. I think overall, to go back to, I haven't really been kind of talked out of my original position, which is basically that I think we should let people do whatever it is that they want. If they like Gooner games, go ahead and do the Gooner games. If you like making Gooner games, go ahead and make those Gooner games. Try to make that bag. That's fine. I myself like very specific video games. I don't like many of the other kind of Gooner games, and I realize that's not popular, but that's fine. I think there's a market for that kind of stuff, and I think if you have an issue with titties, I don't know, go fuck yourself, I guess. Let the market figure it out. That's my position. All right. Good talking to all of y'all. I will catch y'all later.
Always a pleasure.
Yeah, for sure.
Check her
Take
out.
care
I
now.
got a link to her YouTube in my YouTube description, so click on that link. I want to give the mic now that we have that break.
All right, cool guys. Holy shit. Okay, hold on. I did not figure this shit out, okay? Before I realized that my setup was, my god. Okay, wait, I promise I will go through the, nope, that's not my camera. That's not my camera. Hold on, let me get my camera on screen, guys. I will go through your clips, okay? If you have them. Okay, so the in real life content. Let me just get this. God damn it. Let me get the source up. How did we like that? How many brain cells did everyone lose? Go ahead, put it in chat. Put it in chat. How many brain cells did you lose? That's fine. You can be honest. You can be honest. Kitty time? Oh no! No! Okay, here. I will hydrate. I will not be able to do kitty time. How do I get it back to you? I'm so sorry, Testy. Oh, here we go. Okay, cool. Oh my gosh. I came up with a 9-syllable word from boobas. Here, reject. Sorry, buddy. Okay. I was just messing with your ADHD. Well, I do need water. How did we like that? I had fun. I know it was a shitter panel. Remember how I prepared for, was anyone here earlier when I prepared for this debate? Like actually prepared? Dispel came in hot with bad takes. Yeah, I have no idea what Dispel was doing there at the end, okay? I hope it's my last time seeing Tuna do your thing. No. You don't understand, Noid Avoided. Like, Tuna doing things is always content, okay? It's always content. I'm still incredibly confused what that whole panel was actually about. Okay, so the whole panel was supposed to be about gooning in gaming and whether gooning was making our video games worse, okay? And what's funny is that I honestly thought that we would have more dumb arguments. And to be clear, I saw that guy at the end there, the guy who I actually debated against on that moon landing panel. So there may still be even dumber arguments than the ones that were on today's panel. But Soypill actually had like a more reasonable he basically had my take, right? Except that he just wants to go more hard on it. And say that people so we didn't really actually disagree too much. But then the rest of the panel just kind of fucking fell apart because nobody really had a strong oppositioning. Like, Joe Lewis was just, holy shit. Debate prep is for losers, especially for a panel show. Well, here's the thing, Cardboard Golem. I didn't know what I was gonna get. I didn't know anything about Soy Pill. I know Mooncake, but like I still didn't want to go into this like empty-handed. You know what I mean? Also, I looked at Nova's YouTube. Did you know she's crazy? Oh, I have no idea about anything about. I mean, I got an idea that like she's of a certain type of person. Tuna gave me cancer with the comparison. Oh my god, Tuna. Tuna. Holy shit. Oh my god. I have a headache. Tuna won. But my god. A lady of the night? Oh my god, what a fucking what a day. Okay, honestly, I'm not gonna lie. I think I needed that. Sex worker. Oh wait, I wanted to see the clip. Oh shit, hold on. Wait. Hold on. Is this actually gonna work? Well, give me a sec. Bear with me a moment. Okay, cause I've realized I have not set up this for reacting. So you're just gonna have to give me like 1 second. Okay, content. Let's do this. No, not that one. Not that one. Pop out a new tab here. Then make that the new tab. Not this. Nope. Nope, not that. God damn it. But how are y'all doing? Are your brains melted yet? Tab, okay. It's just updating really slow, guys. I'm sorry. I do like the thumbnail that Wick did for this panel, which is like the lemons or whatever. That's pretty good. If I can get it on screen, that'd be nice. I can only bring up that weird like tab. I'm sorry, but this might have to like be a bit more. Let's see here. I hate you, Ice Beans. I'm sorry. Bounce on it. Dayo. What does that mean? There's a market for it. Really brings up concerns I have over whether that is something unavoidable. But the world for a whole self versus society, where society is a greater reality you have to come to terms with. But what if it has bad things? Okay, Cardboard Golem. Okay, this is my issue, right? When you say bad things, I think you have to kind of substantiate what those bad things are. And I don't even necessarily have an issue. Like, you could bring to me an example of something that's bad, right? Like, you could say, oh, finally, it's now showing up. Okay, here, now I can, like, actually pull up the link, right? But, like, so basically, so, what my issue is, or the way that I see it, is that if there are bad things, well, either they're illegal, in which case I support, like, you know, legal action being taken against, you know, or whatever, right? Legislation being made or whatever it is. That's fine. I don't have an issue with that. But then if you're talking about, like, things that we shouldn't really have, like things where you are placed in the position of a rapist, for example, and that it's seen as like a good thing or a necessary thing or whatever, and that it doesn't have, especially if it doesn't then have like a point where it kind of redeems itself somehow, then I guess we can talk about that. I would not want to do that kind of game. I would find that distasteful, but I still think that that would be allowable. I guess, like, when you talk about what's good for society, it's like, I don't feel like I'm in that position to say what's good for society. At least not in that sense, right? Because it's so, I don't know. I think I have to cook on that point specifically a while longer. But here, let me pull up that Let me pull up the. Okay, where's the link? What's the best Gooner game? Pezzy, thanks for coming in. The best Gooner game is the. I don't actually have an example for you. I'm sorry. Okay, here. Let me watch this. Oh, actually, also let me make sure that this is on the right. Okay, cool. Oh, see, this is. Oh no, hold on. Give me a second. Unmute site.
That they are tits, and that it is fucking leaves at on the stem. It is worth noting that they are tits, and that you do use them as a trampoline. Like,
yeah, that's why it's
it
R-rated.
is. It's very similar to Wick taking his shirt off in that it is sex for a joke.
Sex for
Oh
entertainment.
my god. Oh
It's
my
sex for
god. That was
entertainment.
the. Bro. The burn, dude. The burn. Oh my god. Oh, that was so funny. That was so funny. How to let a punchline hang? Yeah, no. I need to get better at this. Lily says you are a libtard. It's okay. She's a liberal. Society pushing for atomization. People reduced to individuals. Tuna Chip's whole thing against pornography, for example. Tuna Chip, I don't know what Tuna Chip was on, okay? I love Tuna. I love Tuna. I will defend him till kingdom come. But, like, my god, what was he on? Tuna was tunoing. Yes, that's really what it was, right? That poor lady. I am interested. I will check that lady out. And I do think that like both the soy pill and I think Zeus had some like interesting points or some like interesting places that he could take. But yeah, I don't know. All right, listen. I'm so done. I need to go eat. He cooked and he burnt the meal. Are we gonna do another segment? No, Golden Grace, we are not gonna do another segment. Unfortunately, we're more or less done. I am gonna read us out on Twitch. I don't think on YouTube I'm not quite like, you know, one viewer. Maybe when but if you please do go like the stream. And I'm gonna put that in the chat. Please do go like the stream so that I can, you know, like the stream and subscribe, please. Wait, jump in real quick. I have to show you something. Right, Rezzy, I have a quick segment for you. Wait, tell me the segment. I'll think about it, but I'm very sleepy and I'm very hungry. Wait, okay, hold on. What is this?
Oh, there's the ice beams right as I'm leaving.
Hold on.
Who made that rape game? Who made that rape game?
Wait, hold on. I can't.
What the fuck is going on?
Hello?
What?
Hi.
Who made that rape game?
Hey, what's up?
Hi, Beams.
Oh no, this is a sound alert, isn't it? Oh no.
Yes.
I thought Tuna was in here genuinely asking the question. Oh my god.
Who made that rape game?
It's so awful. Oh my god.
When he just deadpan looks at the camera and says that, I lost it when he said that.
It was pretty fucking good. It was
It's a
pretty good.
Jewish.
It is a Jewish. All right, okay, I'm hopping out. Good night, y'all. I'll probably be back on afterwards.
Sex worker.
Sex worker. Where is the Discord? Okay, wait, where did my Discord go? It just like fucking disappeared. Can somebody kick me?
Yep, I got you.
All right, thank you. Real quick, can you answer how many boobers could a booba chuck if a booba chuck could chuck boobas? I would say like maybe 15. There needs to be a trampoline joke though. There were better sound bites. Raid Bricky. Who's Bricky? I think considering the at one point, oh my god, there was a fucking chatter in Wix who said some shit about Resi, so I think we are gonna raid Resi. Okay. All right, y'all. This was fun. Unless we want to raid Wick, we could raid Wick. Actually, you know what? I'll leave it up to y'all. Okay. What do y'all? Oh, Wick is offline, motherfucker. All right, I will raid Resi. Okay. All right, y'all. Now, I will probably. Okay. Depending on what happens, I'm gonna try to stream. Wait, what is today? Today is Tuesday. I'm gonna try to stream either tomorrow or Thursday, okay? And we'll just do some chill gaming content or something, okay? Raid Chris. I honestly wanted Chris on this stream, but you know, it is what it is. Will you be streaming tomorrow evening or no? I am gonna try to stream either tomorrow evening or the day after, so you know. Marketplace of Gooning is the raid message. Oh, that's a good one. I like that one. Let's do that one. All right. Okay. Or do whatever you want. It like whatever you feel like. Okay. All right. Where the hell is my actual screen for the raid? Oh, it's right here. I'm dumb. I don't see Chris on. Oh, it was a joke. It was a joke. All right. Go say happy birthday to Resivar. Okay. Be good. Love you. Ready to deploy. Yes, ready to deploy. Bye, y'all.
Bro, Ice Beans. Welcome in, Beansers. Welcome in, Beansers. Okay. Hope that you guys are doing well. Welcome in. I heard you were talking about titties today. We have too much drama. Ice Beans, you want to call in? You're gonna have to call. You're gonna have to call in at some point soon. How's it going? Ties, thank you for the reset. Let's go. Base, thank you. Thank you. Ice Beans, thank you for the raid. Hi guys, I have too much shit to do today. We have too much shit to do today. Show hog.
We need some backup.
No, you can eat. You don't have to call in. It's okay. Okay, thank you for telling me to show hog. We have way too much shit to do today. Where's my script? So, nope. This is, he explained it a tiny bit more. It does sound convincing. Yeah, I'll explain why I think this is important. So, we're doing the Cameron Content Cop Deputy. I want to do this iDubbbz video. I have this Alex Gekmo video. I have a Tyler video. Destiny has like a lawsuit. We might honestly be able to do all of it. It's just all these things are relatively long. I want to call in at some point. Well, then, yeah, that's fine. You can call in any day you want. That's fine. That's okay. You know, you can do what you do. You just do what you will. All right. You know, we'll just do it. But yeah, we have a lot to do today. So we're doing Cameron. We just talked to Morale, who sent me some interesting stuff, basically saying that Cameron lied in a court document, or he lied about a court document in one of his videos. That video was used to portray Krexa, his former roommate, as a vicious, violent abuser. Okay. And basically, he lied about the police report. So there's a possibility my suspicions that Krexa has been unfairly maligned for years are just fucking true. So yeah, Morale found this, and I wanted to say he found this on Internet Archive shit, right? Which I just haven't like looked at it because I don't know. I've been tired. That's it.
Psychic Watt. It's a lie. They weren't talking tiddies on Wix. These fucking nerd bitches spent hours talking about terrorism and the war Ukraine. I shit you not. A stream about big, bouncy, oiled up, delicious tits, and they spent it all on current day conflicts and culture war bullshit instead. I have never walked away from a Wick panel more sexually frustrated than I have today. I'm not even gonna finish now. Out of spite.
Does that help? Thank you for the 200
sort of
bits.
Humiliation. And the first part was Hassan Parker's house. Hassan was doing a show.
I don't care. Primordial right now. Why is my streamer being degenerate? No!
Reacting to Ethan's content nuke and
For anyone that had to see that. He literally posted the rope meme immediately. Bro, I am good stream. All right, let's go.
as I predicted, the funds went to the Creator Clash Tiltify. Now, I kid you not.
Brother, I didn't even take my shirt off. I just showed a little
current
nip.
day conflict.
Penetrate all of my holes
Right sex work, I shit you not. Sex work. Dream about sex work. Bouncy. Sex worker. Sex worker. And they spent it all on current day conflicts and culture war bullshit instead. I have never walked away from a Wick panel more sexually frustrated
because
than
I
I have
shifted
today.
over the $20
I'm not even gonna finish now. Bitches spent hours talking. It's a lie. They weren't talking tiddies on Wix. These fucking nerd bitches spent hours talking about terrorism and the war Ukraine.
Does that help? Thank you for the 200
sort of
bits.
Humiliation. And the first part was Hassan Parker's house. Hassan was doing a show.
It's a lie. They weren't talking tiddies on Wix. These fucking nerd bitches spent hours talking about
For fathers, which was like 40 minutes away at 10 o'clock at night. So